I drank.
Okay.
And last having bourbon.
Here we go.
Then
Yeah.
I'll go bourbon.
Good evening, everyone.
Take one and pass.
Good evening. We got a big crowd.
Thank you.
I'd like to call this meeting to order, the Village of Deerfield Board of Trustees meeting May 20th, 2024. Roll call, please.
Trustee Benton.
Here.
Trustee Berg.
Here.
Trustee Goldstone.
Here.
Trustee Jacoby.
Here.
Trustee Metz-Childers.
Here.
Trustee Oppenheim.
Here.
And Mayor Shapiro.
Here.
We have a quorum.
If you could all rise, and I would ask that Lexi Siegel and Jada Harris please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Yep.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
There was a reason I called out your names. And that reason is the next item on our agenda. I'm going to ask for a motion to approve the appointment of Lexi Siegel to the Community Relations Commission as student member.
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Congratulations. I also would like to recognize Jada Harris, the outgoing Community Relations Commission student member, and I will present Jada you with something in just one moment. But before I do, I want to speak about you. Jada was appointed as the junior student member of the Community Relations Commission in April of 2023. She's been instrumental in organizing and planning the CRC's Heritage Months and associated activity, starting the Deer in Deerfield Resident Recognition Program, and bringing a student's voice to view topics of discussion. Earlier this year, she became a first-time blood donor at a blood drive promoted by the Commission. One of her last acts on the Commission was serving on the 3-person interview team to help select Lexi. She graduates from DHS tomorrow. Congratulations. DHS, she's been the editor of the DHS Deer Prince newspaper, student congress member, debate team, peer helping, and DHS student liaison to District 113 School Board, and that's it, right? I mean, can you do it? We thank you so much for your service. So I'm going to come down and hand this to Jada, and we also have some party gifts.
Thank you, gifts.
Thank you, gifts, not party gifts. Call it party gifts. Let's think.
Sounds good.
So where's Jada?
Right here.
Thank you very much. Thank you. It's been an honor.
God, they're going to run the world.
I know.
Yeah.
All right, just want to thank everyone real quick. It's been a great honor getting to serve on the board. It's been a great experience getting to see the behind the scenes of Deerfield, and I really appreciate the board giving students a voice, and I know I'm leaving it in great hands with Lexi and the incoming senior Josh. So can't wait to see all the great things that lie ahead for Deerfield. Thank you, guys.
Congratulations and good luck on your future endeavors.
Thank you.
Come back and lead us.
And now we have a proclamation that I'd like to read and then present to Bob. Proclamation for Public Works Week 2024. Whereas the year 2024 marks the 64th annual National Public Works Week, and whereas public works infrastructure, facilities, and services are of vital importance to sustainable communities and to the health, safety, and well-being of the people of Deerfield. And whereas such facilities and services could not be provided without the dedicated efforts of public works professionals, engineers, managers, and employees from local units of government who are responsible for and must plan, design, build, operate, and maintain the transportation, water supply, water treatment, public buildings, and other structures and facilities essential to serve our citizens. And whereas it is in the public interest for citizens, civic leaders, and children to learn and understand the importance of public works and the public works programs in their community. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Daniel Shapiro, on behalf of the Village of Deerfield, do hereby proclaim the week of May 19 to May 25 as National Public Works Week in the Village of Deerfield. Proclaim this 20th day of May 2024. Do I have a motion to approve the proclamation?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
You're in the background.
Drinking my Fresca.
Thank you, everybody, for your support in support of Public Works Week. I accept the proclamation happily, and this week is Public Works Week. As you know, leading up to Public Works Week, we have a Public Works open house. This is the 5th time we've done this event. We had about 600 people attend the event this year, which is really great. So we're starting to grow in numbers, and the entire group, most of the group that managed and planned the event is here. So thank you, everybody, for your assistance with that, too. And the Public Works divisions, thank the board as well for your support throughout the years. As you know, we provide some of the essential services from A to Z. We provide water, we provide wastewater treatment, and everything in between. Snow plowing is a big thing for us, too, as you all know. But once again, thank you very much, and gladly accept this. Thank you. Have a
Thank
good
you,
night.
Bob.
Thanks, Bob.
I would now call upon Officer Maldonado and Shepherd School representatives or representative to talk about the Deerfield Police Department 2-100 Club.
Come on, guys.
Nice. And if you wouldn't mind, as you come next to Officer Maldonado, please introduce yourself and tell us.
Or Lauren.
Okay, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Maria Butera.
Hi, I'm Ainsley Tillman. Hi, I'm Becca Lusardi.
I'm Molly Kleidman.
Hi, I'm Sydney Greenberg. I'm the Student Council Club sponsor at Shepherd.
She looks like a student, but she's
Right.
I'm Lauren Maldonado, and I was approached by Mrs. Greenberg 2 years ago, and she, as a student council leader, she said, we'd like to raise money for something, and we were wondering if you had any good ideas. And I immediately thought of the 100 Club. So I pitched the idea to her. She had never heard of it. She thought it was a great idea, talked to student council, and it was kicked off last year. This year, we wanted to do a little bit bigger and better, so we started planning early, and we also got some additional sponsors. The girls actually went out and hit up local businesses, talking to them about the event, and were really successful in getting a ton of raffle prizes. How many raffle prizes did we end up? Over 25 raffle prizes we were able to get for our visitors to put in raffle tickets for really, really nice prizes. So it ended up being a huge, successful event. And a great partnership between the police department and fire department and the school. So we would like to thank Mrs. Greenberg and the girls for helping us in the student council, the Deerfield Fire Department, obviously, for participating in the game. A woman named Julie Travers, she couldn't be here tonight. She's from McDonald's. They provided some resources from us. And Chick-fil-A, the manager there, Joe, also provided sandwiches for us. He couldn't be here tonight either. But also, lastly, I'd like to bring up Danielle Brangle from the 100 Club. She's going to mention and talk to us, or talk to the group about what exactly the 100 Club is. And then I'll present her with the money that we raised.
Good evening. Thank you so much for having us, and I feel like I'm talking to a split side of the room here, but thank you to everyone. The 100 Club of Illinois was founded over 57 years ago to serve families of fallen first responders. Our organization provides financial assistance as well as has a robust educational program for any higher education for dependents of our fallen members, and we continue to welcome those families into a greater family that they never anticipated being a part of. over those 57 years, we found ways then to build upon and utilize those same resources for our active duty members as well. And so our organization, who now serves the entire state of Illinois, also provides active duty wellness and resilience trainings. And we also respond for our active duty members during times of critical incident, providing mental health and wellness needs as they are requested. So the funds that these amazing students, as well as our first responders and community members, have raised for us go so far. And we are so truly appreciative to everyone that has supported and been a part of this event. And being here in Deerfield has personal ties for me, as well as I have family members from the area. So we just appreciate all that you guys do, the way that you serve, and the way that you honor your first responders as well as your students goes a long way. So thank you very much.
So with May being Police Memorial Month, we also spent time at Coffee with a Cop at Starbucks selling the patches that you see on my shirt here, along with we attended the Gurney Expo and sold patches there as well. So we kind of combined all the funds that we raised this month, our biggest fundraiser obviously being our Pack the Place. We will be coming back next year to win, right, Fire Department? we must, even though I heard the 8th grade upcoming team is pretty good. So we will see how that goes. But with all that being said, all the money we raised was $3,637.67. Wow. So we look forward to beating that next year.
Great job.
And guys, remember, Lauren said you're going to win next year. So there's a stake in the ground there.
Wait for moms and dads.
The mom photos.
Very cool.
That's
very cool.
Thank you, guys.
Great job. Thank you, guys. I'm hearing a revenge game. That's what I'm hearing. All right. Next item is minutes of the previous meeting of May 6, 2024, the Board of Trustees meeting minutes. Do I have a motion?
Move approval. Second.
All in favor?
Yep.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Bills and payroll. Where did Eric go? No. Okay. We don't have a report from you tonight, just bills and payroll?
Yep.
All right. Is there a motion to approve bills and payroll?
Move approval.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Berg.
Yes.
Trustee Goldstone.
Yes.
Trustee Jacoby.
Yes.
Trustee Metz-Childers.
Yes.
Trustee Oppenheim.
Yes.
And Trustee Benton.
Yes.
Motion carries. Now is the time of our meeting where we offer the public the opportunity to comment on non-agenda items. There are several people who've signed up for agenda items, but before we get to those items, now is the time where if someone has a non-agenda item, they can feel free to approach, offer comments. We do have a 3-minute limit, and typically the time for comments is just that, a comment time, not a time for dialogue or public debate, but a time to offer public comment. Is there anyone who would like to approach upon a non-agenda item? All right, seeing none, we're going to go to our first report. Item 2455, consideration and action on the request for an amendment to signage plan for Deerfield Square to allow signage for Air Sculpt, a second-floor tenant, at the 720 Waukegan Road building, including necessary exceptions to the Deerfield Square Shopping Center. Okay.
Sorry, I'm trying to
take
catch
your
up to my computer. Plan Commission reviewed this matter and is recommending approval. It wasn't a full board complement, but everybody recommended approval. Again, recognizing the unique location. They've got their entry door that's down kind of from the main entrance to the shopping square and needing some identification signage. So requesting the upper level, second level signage for the building itself, and then the awning sign to direct people how to get to them, right? And Plan Commission recommended approval. Petitioners here tonight to review their request for the board.
Chris?
Good evening, Mayor, Board of Trustees. For the record, my name is Chris Chavelas with the Deerfield Square Shopping Center. and Kirby Limited Partnership. We're very pleased to announce our latest addition to Deerfield Square, AirSculpt Technologies. AirSculpt Technologies is a high-end body contouring operation. It will be located, as Mr. Street indicated,
Chris, if you could just shift a little bit to the left. And there you go. Better, because it was hard for us to hear you.
Sorry, 720 Waukegan Road, second floor, directly above Mario Jacochi. We feel both signs are serve separate but yet important purposes, the awning sign and the wall sign. Also, as Mr. Street mentioned, the Plan Commission voted for a favorable recommendation, as well as the ARC. More than happy to answer any questions.
No.
Does anyone have any questions for Chris?
No.
No? Is there any public that wants to ask any questions or offer any comment on this matter? So I have a motion to approve the request for an amendment to the signage plan.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Goldstone,
Yes.
Trustee Jacoby,
Yes.
Trustee Metz-Childers,
Yes.
Trustee Oppenheim,
Yes.
Trustee Benton,
Yes.
Trustee Berg.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
The next two items are companion items. 2456A, consideration and action on the request for an amendment to the existing Walgreens PUD to change the PUD boundaries to remove 300, 302, and 304 Wilmot Road in the Walgreens daycare building at 202 Wilmot Road from the existing PUD in order to allow for a creation of a new residential PUD with necessary exceptions in the preliminary plat of subdivision. We're going to talk about that, but I also want to introduce the other one because these will kind of come in together. And then I'll ask, just 1 second, Bernie. And then I'll ask Andrew Kent to offer us the report. And what we'll do then is have Pulte go first and Walgreens go second. But I'm just calling them out in the order that they're on the agenda. Okay, so then after, the next one is 2456B. Consideration and action on the request for a PUD for a residential planned unit development with necessary exceptions, a rezoning of 300, 302, 304 Wilmot Road, and the Walgreens daycare building at 202 Wilmot Road from I-1 Office Research Restricted Industrial District to R5 General Residential District, an amendment to the comprehensive plan to allow for the residential development at 300, 302, 304 Wilmot Road and the Walgreens daycare at 202 Wilmot Road, and a preliminary plat of subdivision of the 300, 302, and 304 Wilmot properties and the Walgreens daycare properties at 202 Wilmot Road. So just to be clear, what we'll do is we'll hear staff talk about this, then we'll go in the presentation. Andrew, if you wouldn't mind going first, and then Bernie second on the Walgreens plat. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people who've signed up on this matter, and the other folks who want to talk about this but who haven't signed up, they'll have an opportunity to talk about that after the presentation. So that's how I plan on moving forward on this.
And again, reiterating much of what Mayor Shapiro had to say, Walgreens is requesting approval of an amendment to their existing planned unit development, Walgreens PUD, to change their PUD boundaries by removing the 300, 302, 304 Wilmot Road properties and the Walgreens daycare building at 202 Wilmot Road from the existing Walgreens PUD and making site improvements on the northern side of the Walgreens property to allow the creation of a new residential PUD for Pulte Homes, the Pulte PUD. Due to the new Walgreens PUD boundary, Walgreens will seek a zoning exception for the existing parking lot, skywalk, setback of 33 feet, attached to the 200 Wilmot Road building and the 200 Wilmot Road building setback of 81 feet to be located in the 100-foot required PUD side yard setback on the north side of the new Walgreens PUD boundary. Walgreens is also seeking approval of the preliminary plat of subdivision of the Walgreens properties on Wilmot Road. Pulte is requesting an amendment to the comprehensive plan to change the existing office use designation for the property to a residential use in order to allow a residential development of 300, 302, and 304 Wilmot Road, and the Walgreens Daycare Building at 202 Wilmot Road, a rezoning of the property from I-1 Office Research Restricted Industrial District to R5 General Resident District to allow for a new planned unit development consisting of 42 residential homes to be developed on the property. Pulte is requesting approval of a preliminary development plan for a planned unit development, PUD, with necessary exceptions, and a preliminary plat of subdivision of the 300, 302, and 304 Wilmot Road properties and the Walgreens Daycare Building at 202 Wilmot Road. The Plan Commission held a public hearing on March 28, 2024 and April 25, 2024, and is recommending approval of the petitioner's requests. Pulte has submitted a revised landscaping plan based on comments from the April 25, 2024 Plan Commission meeting. We have Chairman of the Plan Commission, Al Bromberg, is with us tonight, as well as another member to answer questions should the board ask questions of the Plan Commission. And I would encourage the board to entertain a review of the proposal from the petitioner tonight, and then go from there as the mayor has suggested.
So before I ask Pulte and its team to step forward, I just want to be clear to the public and to the board, this is a recommendation from the Plan Commission on a preliminary approval, not final approval. As we did with Continental last meeting or the meeting before, we we considered preliminary approval, and they're coming back in a couple of months for final approval. It's the same process if that were to move forward tonight. So with that said, Pulte, floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Trustees, for the record, my name is Andrew Scott with the Law Offices of Dykema Gossett. I just think I need to put a little, got a presentation to run through. Looks good there. Does this fade out, or do you know I need to close this? Oh, it's okay. All right, again, sorry for the delay there. Again, my name is Andrew Scott with the Law Offices of Dykema Gossett, and I'm here on behalf of the petitioner, Pulte Home Company. With me this evening is Rob Getz, who's with the applicant, Chris Morgart from CENTCOM. They are the project engineers.
If you wouldn't mind, Andrew, just speak up a little louder so we can hear you better.
Sure, I'm sorry.
And maybe talk a little slower, right? We're just...
We're a little older, and so we need a little more help from you. If you could just...
I thought I was old. Okay. Rob Getz with Pulte Home Company, the petitioner. Chris Morgart with CENTCOM. They are the project engineer. Greg Sagan, Signature Design Group. They are the landscape architect. And finally, John Moore, who is Pulte's demolition contractor, is here with us this evening. As you can see before you, the area on the northern portion of the property surrounded in red, that is about approximately 18 acres on the northern side of the Walgreens campus. Pulte is under contract to purchase the property and has been referenced before. The common address of the property is 300 to 304 Wilmot, and also it includes the daycare to the west as well. As you can see, it's improved with approximately 262,000 square feet of office space. Also includes the daycare facility and 800 parking spaces. There are currently 2 points of ingress and egress off of Wilmot Road. It's, as was noted before, zoned I-1 Office Research Restricted Industrial District, and you've got an overlay planned unit development, and the village's comprehensive plan does designate it for the research and development uses. Just backing up a little bit, we did have community engagement early on before we had our preliminary, our pre-con with the Plan Commission. We mailed out notices to all taxpayers of record within 300 feet of the subject property, and we had an open house just next door on February 20th. I think we had about 35 to 40 attendees, and it was actually a really good opportunity to hear concerns of the neighbors, allow them to get a little bit more information in advance of the Plan Commission hearing. We got some good feedback, some good suggestions on things we may want to consider as we move forward with the project. And also over the past couple months, we have had a lot of email correspondence with a number of our neighbors to the north, again, hearing the concerns they had, answering questions about the proposed project. And then finally, as recently as about 2 weeks ago, as was promised at the Plan Commission, we did get together with several of our neighbors on Forsythia who live on the cul-de-sac, sat down with them, Greg Sagan, our landscape architect, to talk through opportunities for additional landscaping on their properties if it was something that they would be interested in. So again, there's been a lot of back and forth with the neighbors to the north throughout this process. Just in terms of the project itself, the plan is to demolish the existing buildings on the property, as well as the 800 parking spaces, and develop it with 42 single-family homes. 39 of those homes will be market rate units, and 3 of those units will be affordable. We're actually going to take away one of the points of ingress and egress into the property, so there will be a single point of access, which aligns with Rosewood to the east across Wilmot. And just in terms of traffic impact, there is actually a substantial reduction in terms of traffic from when you consider a 42 unit single family home development compared with 260,000 plus minus square feet of office space. Just in terms of the lots themselves, 9,000 square feet is the smallest lot of the 42 lots. They're up to 17,200 square feet, when the average is about 10,700 square feet. There's also, as you can see, there's an internal roadway that ends in a cul-de-sac to the west that will ultimately be dedicated to the village. Just in terms of the landscape plan, what you see before you right now is the point of ingress and egress off of Wilmot Road. There's a 20-foot setback that has been designed to align with the other residential properties along Wilmot Road. Within the property itself, Within the property itself, there is an approximately quarter-acre park that will be used as a community gathering area. It's not going to be programmed. There's not going to be improvements on it. Really the thinking behind it, the rationale behind it, is to give an opportunity for neighbors to get together during holidays or on the weekends or that type of thing. So it's really just a community gathering area. And then along the northern border of the property, there is approximately 2.3 acres will be preserved and enhanced. A lot of trees are being added to the area. It's going to, that's the berm that there's been a lot of subject of discussion on. So again, it's not coming up in color. I apologize, but The space itself is about 1.9 acres, and then we are in fact adding about another 0.4 acres of what's currently parking lot area that's going to be landscaped again, kind of in the middle of the berm space and towards the west. And then along the along the western boundary there, right where the Forsythia cul-de-sac is, we've added a lot of trees, a lot of landscaping along there. Whoops, I'm sorry. Again, in an effort to provide additional screening and between the proposed homes at the western end of the property and the existing homes. In addition, along the southern boundary, there's going to be a substantial restoration and enhancement of a drainage swale that exists there today. It's going to be improved with native plantings in order to be able to segregate the Walgreens property with the remainder of the campus from the residential development. Walgreens is going to install an approximately 8-foot tall wall along their northern boundary, the residential development's southern boundary. Finally, all the way to the west, I don't know if you can see, but we have we have extended the sound wall barrier. It's going to be a 15-foot wall that you can see in the bottom right corner. It ties into, it's not going to tie into, but it's going to extend a little bit beyond the IDOT sound wall that's there today, travel southbound, and then come around eastbound to approximately lot 20 that you can see on the site plan. Just in terms of the homes, I'm sorry. This is actually, we had talked about the landscaping that we had added during the course of between the first Plan Commission hearing and the second. You're looking to the southeast from the cul-de-sac at this location, so there have been added trees. You can see the line of bushes, about 16 bushes that have been added at the end of the cul-de-sac. The fence that you see there today, it's a split rail fence. It will be replaced upon completion of the infrastructure work. And then this is looking to the southwest. Again, you can see the fence, the additional bushes. As you travel further west, you can see what is approximately a 10-foot common area space setting back the southernmost lot at the end of the cul-de-sac from the first lot in the subdivision. And then just in terms of the homes themselves, they range in area or square footage from about 2,700 square feet to 3,900 square feet, be 4 to 6 bedrooms. They will have 2 to 4 car garages, full basements. There are actually 6 different home plans. They've got multiple elevations and material options. There's actually 28 different variations, 4 to 6 per home style. Oops, I'm sorry. To just, again, provide a lot of opportunity to break up. It's not going to be monotonous. You're going to have a lot of people that have different choices in terms of the homes that they could construct. And just in terms of the project phasing, as I had mentioned, we're under contract with Walgreens. The hope is to close by the end of 2024. Assuming approvals, we would start demo and site work in early to mid to 2025. Ideally, the model home would be ready by the end of 2025, and then the first turnover to homeowners would be about 2026, and the full build-out would be early 2028, assuming sales go as expected. We talked a little bit before, but just to summarize, we are seeking the rezoning from the current zoning classification to an R5 general residence district, approval of a preliminary special use permit for residential PUD. Mayor had mentioned, and also Mr. Street had mentioned the exceptions that we're seeking. The ground sign that is proposed along Wilmot will actually be set back 14 feet instead of the required 25 feet from the property line. The sound wall that I had mentioned before encroaches into the required 30-foot perimeter setback, so we're seeking relief from that. And then finally, we're seeking utilization of marketing signage for a residential planned unit development that is fewer than 30 acres. As I mentioned before, we're 18 acres. seeking the amendment to the comp plan to allow residential uses on this property, and then finally the preliminary plat of subdivision to create the outlots in the 42 lots for the homes. Just in terms of public benefits that we see on the project, it definitely brings new housing options to the village. The 2.3 acre wooded area, bermed area to the north being preserved and enhanced. We're reducing the impervious surface area of the 18 acres by a substantial amount. We're improving stormwater management for the site, and that also includes the native plantings and the swale that runs along the southern property line. And just we did a quick look at the impact on property taxes, and currently the portion of the property that we're purchasing generates, as of taxes payable in 2024, about $508,000, and we estimate that upon stabilization of the entire development that it will generate approximately $1.2 million in property taxes, so a substantial increase over what exists there today. And another thing that's important just in all of this is Walgreens is obviously considering its real estate options and needs, and really by being able to purchase this property, develop it, and enter into this transaction with Walgreens, it does facilitate their staying within the village of Deerfield, which is an important element of all of this. I want to turn now, just because I know there are a couple of areas of concerns that have been out there for quite a bit of time. One of which is just to have our demolition contractor come up and just give everyone an overview of the protocols, the policies that they're going to implement, be able to give you some information about their experience in the area of demolition. And then I'm going to have Rob Getz from Pulte come up and talk to you about the berm, because again, we know that's kind of front and center in terms of a point of interest. So, John, you want to come on up and just state your name for the record?
Good evening, everyone. My name is John Moore. I'm the General Superintendent with Alpine Demolition Services. Alpine is a Chicagoland demolition contractor that's been in business for the past 22 years. In that 22 years, we've become a premier demolition contractor with a reputation of doing the more surgical and difficult jobs. Some examples of that is we did 5 out of the 6 phases of the renovation for Wrigley Field, which, as everyone knows, is a iconic and historic structure that was massively underbuilt. Especially some of the phases were done during the Cubs World Series run, and if everyone remembers, all the games went to Game 7. The excitement, people bouncing on those bleachers. When we were wrecking those bleachers, I'm surprised there wasn't a collapse then and there. But point being is that was a surgical demolition set within a neighborhood. In addition, we've removed the O'Hare and Des Plaines oases over I-90 and 294. So that's not just a bridge demo, but a structure on top of a bridge, a building on top of a bridge. So dust and debris management was imperative on that. More recently, Arlington Park, we did that just last year for the Bears. One of their criteria was dust control. That was one of their big concerns. Currently, we are finishing up removal of Ryan Field in Evanston, which, as everyone knows, it's set in the middle of a residential neighborhood, and that was it's a bit of a hot topic in the neighborhood, and we have received nothing but high praise from Evanston so far for our efforts, and dust has not been an issue there. We do this because we have we can do this with our state-of-the-art equipment. We have excavators that have dust suppression built into them. We can hook up a fire hose to the back of a machine. It gets pumped up to the end of the excavator, and we use hydraulic concrete processors, which, if you were to see them, they almost look like a dinosaur head, and they just sit and eat concrete, essentially. So it's one bite at a time with water every step of the way. Some of the equipment that doesn't have that, we will pull water from either a hydrant or a water truck that we would provide, and spray water as we demo. Now, in addition, we have equipment called dust bosses. Those are, if you were to imagine a snowmaking machine that you see at a lot of the Midwestern ski hills, it's a water cannon essentially that you hook up a water hose to. It has a booster pump to increase the volume, and it shoots a mist into the air. And when there's no wind and conditions are right, they can throw water, a mist, well over 100 feet in the air in the direction that you point the thing. It can oscillate back and forth in all directions. So we use those a lot also. That mist will capture any airborne dust and just bring it right down. Now, a lot of these jobs, these surgical jobs, they require a high level of project management and attention to detail, and that really is what we're known for. So we're experienced in working within the confines of either residential neighborhoods or whatever the situation may be. I mean, currently right now we're working at a hospital in South Bend, Indiana, where we are removing 3 stories of elevator shaft on top of the intensive care unit right next to air handler units that supply air for that intensive care unit. So, as you can imagine, dust suppression is of the utmost importance. So this is something, a service that we provide and something that we are used to. And I'd be happy to answer any questions if anyone has any concerns.
Anyone have any questions? I mean, I got a bunch of questions, but maybe we'll just go ahead.
How long will the process take?
The demolition process.
Yeah, just his process, yeah.
That, I can't give an exact answer because I'm not the estimator on the project. I'm aware of the project from a Google Maps sense. I can see the vicinity of the neighborhood. I don't know the exact makeup of the building. I don't know if you have any information that Carson provided.
It's the demolition portion.
Just make sure you introduce yourself.
Absolutely. Rob Getz, Vice President of Land for Pulte Homes. The demolition is expected to take anywhere between 2 to 3 months, which is what we had stated at Plan Commission as well.
Is that the building and the whole parking lot that needs to come up? You guys manage all of that?
So the building will come down, the parking lot will get ground up, and then we'll start our normal site development process, which we would expect to start in March or April of that year, when we start doing our grading and undergrounds and other site development.
I don't mean to have you take offense to some of my questions, but I got to ask them. In the prior projects, some of which you've identified as surgical, have there been any complaints either by the neighbors or the local municipalities?
Not necessarily. There have been complaints over the years, and typically it's from conditions that weren't addressed by, let's say, by an owner, or for example, if there was air intakes in an adjacent area, an owner was supposed to provide special filtering. They didn't provide that. And sure enough, we found out right away, shut the job down until it was addressed. But a lot of times we can mitigate all these items ahead of time.
We've had a lot of letters, as you may know, about people who are concerned about dust particles or other particles in the air, especially because there's a school kind of across the street, down the street and across the street, a grade school. So a lot of concerned parents. Rob, do you know whether the buildings that would be coming down have asbestos?
So we did do an asbestos survey on the site, and there's a small amount of asbestos floor tile, but that's all the asbestos we found. So we'll be removing that prior to any demolition activities.
How do you do that? What special care do you take to remove asbestos?
We don't remove asbestos. That is handled by an asbestos contractor, somebody that specializes in that.
Okay, so that's done before demo?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, is that all like interior work, Rob? Do you know?
Yeah, it's interior tile on the floor of one of the buildings, and so our certified asbestos contractor will have to come in and remove that prior to any demolition activities taking place.
So I think what I'm hearing is that with regards to asbestos, that's all interior. That stuff is not likely to go into the air as part of the demolition. That's done before you take down the buildings and do your work.
Correct. And floor tile is non-friable, so it does not get airborne as well.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
That's helpful. I heard you talk about dust bosses. I think that's what you called it.
Right.
And hosing. What other efforts do you take to try to mitigate any of the dust particles in the air as you demo?
So the best way we can control it is keep it wet as we go all throughout the process. Pre-wet, keep it wet during the process.
And what's your SOP? What's your standard operating procedure for doing that?
It depends on the situation. So typically we'll pull a hydrant meter from the village. We'll put a deposit down and get that. If there's ample supply of hydrants around, we will use that. If there's not, we'll bring a 4,000 gallon, maybe even 8,000 gallon water truck, so we have water on hand and we can use it in multiple locations. But it's really just that.
Okay. Do you do that, like, is that constant during the demolition, or is that only like it take some hours to demolish and then you spray down? How does that go?
Spray as we go. Spray while we're doing it, and spray as we load trucks as well.
Have you found that that's good enough to keep the particles from going in the air?
Absolutely. Yeah, and the dust loss as well is just, takes care of the surrounding air in general.
And we should have no problem with all that additional water going in the storm sewer system?
No, there will be stormwater protection in place.
And, Your Honor, maybe it's a good thing to ask, too. So supervisory personnel will be on site, somebody who has real control, not just less than?
Absolutely. All of our supervisors have OSHA 30-hour training and, among several other trainings as well, but they're all qualified people.
So one of the things, Rob, that it will be no surprise is all these things are going to be embodied in the development agreement to ensure that your demo is done in a safe way, in a way that you're representing to us tonight.
We appreciate that and look forward to that. Certainly there's, Alpine is not the cheapest demolition contractor in the area. We choose them because we don't want problems. We don't want issues. We want this to go as smoothly as possible, and that's why we choose a contractor like Alpine that has such extensive experience in the Chicagoland area on difficult, close proximity projects.
We may take you up on calling upon some of the other jobs or references.
Absolutely.
Just because it's important to us.
I believe Alpine did some work on your village hall here as well, so you might be your own reference on that as well.
All right, we'll make a call to ourselves.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, driving up here, we did the church right to the south here. There was some work in the courtyard. I mean, this not necessarily dust work, but we had a crane get a lot of material out from the center courtyard. We've worked in the high school as well. So,
Bob, anything you want to add from Public Works perspective? No. Okay.
One more question. Debris, how do you take it out each day? Does it pile up? We've seen a lot of demolition along the highway, and sometimes it just sits there. It looks like it sits there. So how does that get removed regularly?
So as it's accumulated, we will remove it. We need to make sure that there's enough to keep a truck going all day, but a lot of the interior build out, the carpets, the drywall walls, all that stuff will get loaded out immediately. That won't that'll get stripped out ahead of time. Mm-hmm. That way, when we are actually bringing the building down, we have nothing but concrete and metal, and all that's controlled. It's not susceptible to being airborne by wind or anything like that. It's also for recycling efforts as well, but that's just part of the process. I do know that we get a bad reputation. The Crawford plant that if everyone remembers, over by Pulaski in 55, an out-of-town contractor brought down a big stack, didn't use any water whatsoever. I know over, we got a wrecking ball and a crane over for Allstate as well. The equipment we have the closest thing you can have to a hand on the end of a machine. We're not just, knocking this thing down. It's very precise. It's very controlled.
So to that point, when you have the debris removed, is that like? Can you give us maybe an order of magnitude, like the number of trucks that are going to be taking the stuff out every day, and
Sure.
what's their route? Where are they covered trucks? Can you just walk us through that a little bit too?
Sure. For the what's called the construction and demolition debris, the C&D, which is the interior build out, we can get a lot of that material in the truck legally. We can any truck can legally haul 80 tons. We can fill a 100-yard transfer trailer. So think of as big of a truck as you can. We can get that in a truck. All the debris from this room is not going to fit in one of those trucks. So it is not that much trucking. It's not too disruptive to the neighborhood. We're not like the earth movers where we're just taking a bucket of dirt, putting it in a truck. Trucks are lined up down the road. It's nothing like that.
That's what I'm concerned about.
Yeah, it's nothing like that at all. We're the only trucks that are smaller trucks are the ones that are hauling away the concrete. And typically, we're not generating that much that we can keep several trucks busy in a day. I mean, typically, on a heavy day for something like this would be 5 to 6 trucks. And those are the smaller.
And so we're going to want to keep you out. Sorry, we're going to want to keep the trucks from going in and out during school hours. That's for sure.
Correct.
So there might be something in our development agreement that says no trucks during school hours. But what would the route be for the trucks to go out?
Well, typically that'll be established ahead of time and given to us. But we want to avoid residential areas, school areas as well. Yeah. Just give them a straight route to where they need to be, or to the main road.
I mean, I assume it would be going south on Lake
Cook Road,
south on Wilmont to Lake Cook. Yeah. So maybe you guys will work with Public Works and staff to make sure that route is the route you take Wilmont South and get on Lake Cook to the highway and go about your business and avoid the school.
Yeah. Again, a development agreement provision that we can require.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of times that'll happen ahead of time. We're used to that.
That's the most efficient. So your guys are going to want it too. So it's not.
Right. And some of the material, the excess concrete, some of the asphalt can be recycled?
Yeah, we actually recycle 90% of our materials.
Excellent.
And it's not necessarily due to regulation. It's just convenient that is actually the most cost-effective way to do it.
You bet.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But that processing won't take place on site.
No.
Right.
No. So the C&D, as I stated, this debris will go to a sorting facility where they will take it out, take out all the recyclables. The steel we will load as just steel. That'll go to scrap yards. Concrete will just go as straight concrete. That goes to a crusher where they crush it off-site.
Reuse it?
I just crank it up.
No.
Noise does.
The facility there.
Right.
Cool.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Just for the last part of our presentation, again, to reiterate, my name is Rob Getz. I am the Vice President of Land for Pulte Homes. The last thing I'm going to talk about is, let's get through here. We're talking about the berm, right? Because I think that probably the biggest area of contention is what's going to be happening with this berm. I think we've already spoken to the fact that we are keeping the berm on the north side of the property. So, it's important to note that every home today that has a berm behind their home will still have a berm behind their home. Okay? Even the homes on the east side of Forsythia, they have a berm behind their home, they will still have the exact same berm behind the home. The part of the berm that we propose to get rid of would be the portion of the berm that's at the south end of Forsythia, as you can see in yellow on this diagram. A couple things I want to point out, because I think there's been a lot of discussion about what we're proposing to do, why we're proposing to do it, right? So I just want to go through that quickly with you and get our case out there so everyone understands our thought process in this.
I'm sorry to do this, Rob. When you say the only part of the berm that would be removed would be at the south end of Forsythia. So in terms of feet, how many feet are we talking about of the berm that would be removed?
We're talking about 350 feet of berm. So if you can see everything that's highlighted there in yellow would be the portion of the berm that is going to be removed. Can you see the yellow on there?
Yeah.
It's a little light, but.
Trustee Berg has a question.
How much of the berm would remain then?
So essentially everything.
Out to Wilmot.
To the east.
Right. Everything out to Wilmot.
I got this thing's thinking a little slowly here. Hang on. We'll get there. Boom. There you go. Yep. So everything that you see in this, we're going to do this so you can hear me over here. So as I point to here, so everything here and all the way along behind all these houses is going to remain. So this is going to stay. Everything behind every one of these houses is going to stay. Everything behind these houses is going to stay. Behind these, and then this berm behind these two houses is going to stay. In addition, this area right here where my cursor is now is actually the corner of the parking lot. We will be taking that and we'll be adding that to the berm area, and we'll be planting additional landscaping. And as well, this triangle area right here where my cursor is also part of the parking lot today, and we'll be adding that to the berm area as well. So that's what he referenced it as 1.7 acres being increased to 2.3 acres. Those are those additional areas being added.
Now put your cursor in the area of the berm that will be removed, please.
From here, around here, over to here. So this section right here is the section that's going to be removed. Let's get back to my slide here because there's a couple things I'd like to talk about. Okay, so the first thing I'd like to talk about is the existing utilities. I think there was some discussion as far as what we needed to tie into and what we didn't need to tie into as far as existing utilities in the area. So if you look at this diagram here, the first thing I'd like to point out is we'll talk about the water. So this light blue dash line right here is the existing water line in the area. There's a hydrant at the end of the street, which you can see if you go out there today. And then just beyond the hydrant, essentially there's a 5-foot stub and a valve that ends. That was put there when the original subdivision was done in the event that there was an expansion to the south, so you could tie onto it. So that's where the existing water line ends today. You can see the dark blue is the new water line that we're proposing to tie into. We're also tying into a water main over by Wilmot, right? So we're going to have 2 points of connection because villages prefer to have 2 points of connection, so you have water flushing through, so you have better water quality. It will actually increase the water quality at the end of Forsythia as well, because right now these people are on a dead end, which needs to be flushed to keep the water fresh in that area. So it will help the water quality at the end of Forsythia as well, to have this connection, which then loops it back over to Wilmot, where we're connecting on the other side of the subdivision. The next thing I want to talk about is the sanitary sewer. So if you see here, this dashed pink line right here that ends in a vault in the street is the existing sanitary sewer in the area. The dark pink line is where we're going to be connecting our sanitary sewer to this existing sanitary structure. Again, the sanitary was ended at the end of the street, just like the water was for future phases to connect to that. The last thing I'd like to talk about from a utility standpoint is the storm sewer. Currently today, if you go to the end of the Forsythia, you'll see, and you saw in our renderings, there's a manhole cover right at the end of the street. That is the storm sewer. It's actually a rather large storm sewer. It's a 36-inch storm sewer. And what happens here is that's being fed right now from 2 points from the tollway. So you've got a storm sewer that comes here today. It comes down here. This storm sewer comes over. And these two storm sewers today come to this vault right here. They come across here to this one. Then they angle over to this one. And they come up. That's the current situation today. What we're going to be doing is we're going to reroute that on our property. And rather than have these come down here, because this cuts, obviously you can see this will be cutting across the middle of two of the lots that we're proposing, we're going to be taking the storm sewer and we're going to bring it up and we're going to bring it along here and it's going to tie in here. In addition, we'll have storm sewer from our cul-de-sac that will come back here and tie in here. And then we're going to have storm sewer from the back of these yards because per village code, every home that has a basement and a sump pump, that sump pump has to tie into storm sewer. So you see here we're going to have two storm sewer tie-ins, as well as we'll have surface drains right here to collect some of the storm water in the backyards of this area. That will connect here, and that will go through here.
So it's the dark green lines.
The dark green lines is our proposed storm sewer.
And the neon green will go away.
And then this right here will go away. Yeah. This will remain, and this will remain, but it'll collect through here. So what's shown by the red hatching is to put in anything underground, you need to excavate a trench, right? So the red lines is essentially showing where the dimensions of the trench would be on either side of the utilities that we'd be installing, okay? The reason I'm showing that is to show, okay, anywhere that there's red hatching, we're going to have to excavate, right? So anything in the area of the red hatching that were on the berm today, right, those trees, they're going to have to come down at a minimum in the area that we have this red hatching here, and in the area where we have the red hatching where we're bringing through these new utilities. In addition, as we talked before, we are also connecting the sidewalk at this point, and that sidewalk connection is coming through here, and so that sidewalk then garners the rest of this excavation here. Because at the end of the day, when we put the sidewalk through here, to build the sidewalk through here, we have to pull the berm back a little bit for the construction of the sidewalk. So that's the layout of the kind of the work we're doing out there. So basically, in the area of the red hatching, we have to take the trees down. We have to take the berm down in the area of the red hatching to connect the existing utilities to the north. Question we got asked at Plan Commission, which was a very valid question, is, okay, well, once you take it down, can you rebuild the berm in the same location? Right? It's a fair question. We could, but that's where this slide comes in. So this slide shows the proposed homes on Lot 24 and Lot 23 in our subdivision. The reality of the situation is that if we were to rebuild the berm back in the exact same place, you could see where the existing contours of the berm today come all the way here, and they come all the way through here. We wouldn't be able to build the homes on lots 23 and 24. That's the reality of the situation. That's why we're not rebuilding the berm in place. A couple things I'd like to point out, though, is one, if you look at the back corner of Lot 25, we're actually building an additional small berm here, and we're planting this small berm in an area right now where there's some trees that are in poor quality. And if we'd like, our landscape architect could come up and talk about the quality of the trees in this little corner of the lot here. But we're going to put a new berm, and we're going to plant additional plantings on this berm to help, because at the end of the day, for Lot 31, this is the back of their home. So if you're sitting on your back porch, we wanted to make sure we screened this view corridor to the best that we could, and we're actually giving them additional berm here where today you can see the berm kind of toes down here, and the berm toes down here, and there isn't a berm in this corner. So we're putting a berm where there isn't one today to help the view corridor of Lot 31. It's kind of the reality of the situation. But I did just want to let everyone know, because there have been discussions about could you, can't you. We have to connect the existing utilities. A portion of the berm and the trees that are on that berm have to come down to connect to those existing utilities. We could build the berm back up, but if we were to build the berm back up, we wouldn't be able to build to the homes that we're proposing in the subdivision, which, just to be honest with you, that does not work for us. So that's why we're doing what we're doing here today.
Can you explain to us why the option of a cul-de-sac was decided upon there rather than just a turn and a connection to Forsythia Drive, which would push the front yards of homes 23 and 24 forward? Why was it chosen to just do a sidewalk connection into the existing housing development rather than continuing that road?
Absolutely. So as our attorney Andrew mentioned, we started this whole process by having neighborhood meetings, right? We had the neighbors come in. If there was one thing that was made abundantly clear to us at that neighborhood meeting, it was that nobody that lived on Forsythia wanted that road to connect to our new subdivision. So we heard an overwhelming majority of the I don't think I talked to a single person at that meeting that didn't tell me that they did not want Forsythia to connect. So because of that, that's what drove the cul-de-sac. Certainly, we had plans before that did have the road connecting to Forsythia. We had homes aligned in a different way. We actually had room for 2 more lots there, really, when you do that. But by putting the cul-de-sac there, it creates a bit of an inefficient design. You can see you're left with a lot of space that you're not using in this area. You're left with areas back here. It created a different feel, but certainly we heard very clearly from the neighbors that was what they wanted, so we tried to meet them halfway with that, and that's where the cul-de-sac was born.
I see. Thank you.
If you could draw your attention to Lot 30 and then the house for 23. There's a yellow area. So if you can put your cursor in that yellow area, yeah, right in there. Mm-hmm. What's the feasibility of putting some sort of berming there?
So I guess let me answer this 2 ways first. So one of the things we're challenged with too, and I should have mentioned this, as far as putting the berm back, right?
Well, I'm not saying a 7-foot berm.
No.
I mean, you made an accommodation to the northeast with a little berm over there near Lot 31. So I'm thinking something like that in the yellow area between 30 and the number 30 and the number 23.
Right. Yeah, I got you. I was just taking a step back real
Yeah.
quick. It just because I did forget to mention that, as far as putting a berm back in this area here, most public works individuals will tell you that they don't like berms to be built on top of utilities that they may have to maintain at a later date, right? It makes it more difficult to maintain these utilities.
Mm-hmm.
The idea of potentially building a berm back on this Outlot B, that's why I wanted to go back to the landscape plan and show you.
I wasn't talking about the Outlet B area.
To buffer the home.
You just meant the corner where they're
Oh,
building
okay,
up.
all right.
Yeah, so we're getting there.
Okay.
Hang on. I went too fast. There it is. Come on, Bessie. All right. So this area back here is essentially what you're talking about, right? And so we are adding additional trees in this area here. We're keeping, you see right here, it's tough to see, but these trees in this area here we're trying to keep. So in order to build any type of berm in this area, we would have to be getting rid of the trees that we're trying to preserve. That we can. You can see we added a new tree here after we met with the neighbors. We have a line of arborvitae here that we're trying to provide. If you'd like us to try to do some additional berming in this corner, it's something we certainly can. I would remind you that right behind this corner is a 20-foot tall sound wall. So really, if we put berming in this corner, you're berming yourself from your exposure to a 20-foot sound wall that's already in this area. And then we're going to be overlapping, as our attorney mentioned, from here, we're going to overlap a 15-foot sound wall in this red area to the 20-foot sound wall that already exists. So, yeah, we could look to pick that area up a little bit.
So the sound wall effectively becomes shorter in terms of blocking sound because you've raised the grade.
Well,
That's
no,
what
not
you're saying.
if you put a little. No, I'm just saying that there's not really anything behind you to screen because the sound wall is still going to be there. So,
What are you blocking?
What are you
Saying, what are you
blocking?
blocking?
Right.
Yeah,
Right, but that's...
but
That's
I mean, certainly.
You're going to eliminate the existing larger trees and replace it with smaller ones.
Rob, who technically owns that outlot?
Walgreens.
I'm sorry,
Oh,
once in this scenario.
Our
once-
homeowners
once-
association. So our homeowners association will own and maintain this outlot here, the outlot that comes through here. All of this, all through here, will be owned and maintained by the Clare Estates Homeowners Association, as well as this park area that was mentioned here will also be owned by the Homeowners Association, as well as this 20-foot outlot here, as well as the outlot here that contains the drainage swale, which, as our attorney mentioned, we're replanting with native plantings to help with stormwater quality in the area.
And so lot 30 and lot 23, since they're both backing up to that, how will decisions be made on trees, coverage, anything that would go there? Would lot 23 have more authority to ask the homeowners association to do things in that outlot? I'm just curious. I'm just recognizing this is a very shared corner.
You mean going forward,
Going
not
forward
today?
in this proposal, yes.
I mean, going forward, it would be the homeowners association that would make that decision. So there'll be a homeowners association board, the members of the homeowners association board, and the management company for the homeowners association would be the ones that have absolute control as to what happens in that outlot.
Which we can bind through our zoning approval process. We can bind them to do that, and we would.
Any other questions? I got a bunch, but I don't want to monopolize. Questions?
Yeah, when would the berm changes happen if this proposal went forward in the construction process? You kind of walked through, close at the end of 2024, first model in 2025. But when would that berm actually be removed in this scenario?
Ideally, again, weather everything else, but it'd be sometime during our 2025 construction. So we'd get through the entitlement process as we talked about this year. We'd close hopefully December this year. Demolition, one of the things we didn't mention, but if everything stays on track, we're actually fortunate in that the demolition activities will be taking place throughout the winter, which is helpful because people aren't outside so as much. We'd be doing that, and then our site work activities would start in April, May, June, somewhere in that location of 2025. So that's where we would be hopefully depending on permits and everything else.
Thank you.
So could some of the plantings be put in early before the homes are constructed, after the site work and the utilities are put in? Or were you thinking of waiting? I know one of the things that impressed me in your report was that you were hopeful that some of this plant material could be field located by the landscape architect at the time to do the most they could in terms of blocking sight lines, which is a great way to plant. But if you wait till the homes are constructed, you're waiting a while.
It's true, but at the same time, you don't want to plant the new plantings and then have them all get destroyed by the home construction.
Yeah.
So ideally, we would want to wait until the construction of
Whatever
lots
the
20,
homes.
23 and 24, until those homes got built, before we really replanted that, because otherwise
It's dangerous. Yes, I
there's
know.
enough equipment going through there and our connections to the storm sewer in the backyard and everything else. You're going to want to do that all together.
Yep. Okay. Go ahead.
You talk about reconstructing a berm and how it's not feasible for you. In that, were you assuming the same 7-foot berm, or were you saying it's not feasible to reconstruct, in your opinion, any berm?
So I was saying the same 7-foot berm. I think, I don't want to put words into the homeowner's mouths here, but I think we've heard very clearly from them that they want the existing situation or bust. And that's kind of, so far, what we've heard when our landscape architect went out to discuss possible, additional plantings. Understandably, the homeowner said, listen, we want this exact berm, and so we're not really ready to come off that position yet. So when I'm talking about replanting the berm, in my head it's, can we put a 7-foot tall berm back out there at that location? As you can see, we don't have room for it.
Have you considered rebuilding a berm of some height that's feasible, that can withstand the trees, the landscaping, etc., not lose 2 lots, and have a privacy screen that ensures some sort of privacy with mature trees from the neighbors on Forsythia?
And I don't mean, I'm not trying to come off as argumentative, but we've looked into that, and the problem with that is at the back of our lots now, as you see, there's going to be a 10-foot utility easement where we're going to have a storm sewer in that 10-foot utility easement. And so it's not usually a good practice to be putting berms at the back of those lots in those PU and DE.
Well, where would the additional landscaping then be? Would it be still?
We'd be putting the landscaping in that area, but again, we tend not to want to have a berm in the area where we showed we're having storm sewer inlets to try and collect additional storm water, and then putting a berm there. So we're trying to.
So you're I don't mean to be argumentative.
No,
Sorry.
ahead.
I'm just challenging.
You're the mayor. You get to be argumentative. I'm just a developer.
No excuse. So what you're saying is it's okay to put landscaping over the utility, but it's not okay to put a berm of some size over the utility.
We prefer not to, because you run the risk of creating drainage issues in that situation. Yes, we tend to err in the direction of not wanting to put berms in places where they could possibly dispel the ability to get stormwater through there. We know that there is some stormwater concerns in this area to begin with, and we feel that putting any additional berm back there would potentially be not great for the existing storm sewer. So we would prefer, it's actually going to be a little bit of a low-lying area that we would be putting landscaping in. That's our preference. That's what we would prefer to do. There's no absolutes in the world, except that we can't put a 7-foot berm back there and build 2 houses on those lots. That's the only absolute.
I hear that loud and clear. I'm exploring a berm of some height, which I wouldn't know, but I hear you saying you can't do 7 feet. So I'm trying to explore with you any sort of berm.
Which way does the water flow?
Well, can I just
Yeah, I'd like to
maybe help out here for a sec?
Chris come up on that.
Since it's Public Works Week, can we have our Director of Public Works maybe chime in? on his thoughts of a berm on top of the stormwater sewer.
Well, I think he's going to say it's not ideal. That's not our preference. If we have to go in and fix it, he's going to say that. But I also don't
Well, I
want
want to hear from him.
But I also don't want Bob to pick a solution here because it's not our job to solve this problem. It's the petitioner's job.
No, but
It won't be a problem for us, but it'll be a problem for somebody 30 to 50 years from now. It isn't a good practice to build earth upon, over the top of utilities. We see that in certain areas. We have it in certain areas. And when we do have that, we're calling in specialty contractors to do extra deep excavations for us. So,
Okay.
thank you.
And just as in my experience as a landscape professional for years and years, you have to be very careful where you place berms and other manipulations of the land, of the grade. Because whenever you interrupt the flow of water, you create an artificial situation and the water may not flow where you want it to. And then you get real problems in people's backyards, in people's front yards, And anytime you manipulate the grade, that's what you're doing. Putting even a small berm, you're preventing water from flowing.
Okay.
The way
And
it wants to
I'm
flow.
just trying to, explore the issues. and-
You just have to be careful. I mean, how you do that, and sometimes you just can't.
And see where the
Can-
balloon gets pushed, right?
Right.
Can you go to the perspectives? I think you had a perspective. There's one, and there may have been another one. That's the one, too. The landscaping that I see here is on the south side of that fence on Walgreens property, right? Yes, all I'll call pink stuff. I don't know what it is. The
Yes.
pink stuff. All right, it's lovely. I'm just going to call it pink stuff. Are you guys willing to work with the neighbors to landscape on their property?
We are. So a couple things I'd like to point out on this as well.
Yes.
So the pink stuff is new, as is two of the evergreens in here. So when we came in front of Plan Commission, one of the things we heard from Plan Commission is that they would have liked to see more delineation. So this is an outlot that's going to be owned by the Homeowners Association. Originally, we had 3 trees in this outlot and 1 deciduous tree down closer to the road. And we heard feedback that they'd like to see more.
This is the outlet we were talking about before?
What's that?
This is the outlet we were talking about a couple minutes ago?
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
So this is right at the end of Forsythia.
Got it.
And we heard feedback, the Plan Commission chair, as well as others, said, listen, could we add more? Could we better delineate that end of Forsythia for folks so that they know that's the end of the road? So one thing I do want to mention when we're looking at these renderings is we didn't want to cheat with these renderings and show you what it's going to look like in 20 years. We wanted to make sure that we were showing you what it's going to look like when we make the original plantings, right? Because I think that was one of the things we heard Plan Commission was, well, the renderings are underwhelming. They are because it's what it's going to look like the day we plant it. This seems like a lot of space to have these 5 evergreens in there, but once these 5 evergreens 20 to 30 years from now become mature, pretty much this entire area is going to be filled with evergreens. The same with the shrubs that we put in there. This is day 1 planting of those shrubs. Within 10 years, those shrubs, depending on how they're cared for and how they're trimmed, can get up to 10 to 12 feet tall. So this is what it's going to look like. These are, river birches in a very young stage, and this is that arborvitae I was talking about in a young stage as well. So this is all landscaping that's being added by Pulte, but we're showing the original condition. Now, that's a long way of getting to your question, Mayor, of would we be willing to put plantings on the neighbors' yards. We actually did have Greg Sagan, our landscape architect, went and met with the neighbors to talk to them about where we could put additional plantings. At that time, they weren't interested in talking about that because, again, I'm not putting words in their mouth, but I feel like they said, listen, we want the berm to stay, so if we have a discussion with you about alternates, it might be weakening our position as far as wanting the berm to stay. So we're still willing to have that conversation, and we're willing to send Greg out there again to talk to them about planting additional plantings on their side yards in that area.
I would love for anyone else to ask some questions. I still got. Can I keep going? Keep going. Okay. I'm going to segue off the berm for just a moment to the open space that you guys talked about.
In the middle, you mean?
Yeah. Or are there any plans for any benches or pergola or anything like that to make it more inviting for people to use it and take advantage of that open space?
So I'm assuming you're talking about the outlet in the middle here?
Yes.
So at least my idea was that we wanted it to be in a more open area so that, a little park space for block parties, as was mentioned, for people to come out at the end of the day and their kids to ride their bike around the circle and just to have people to hang out. So we didn't want to program in a bunch of hardscape in that area because really we felt that, even having a sidewalk around the outside of it, we just wanted to be a green space in the middle of the neighborhood that people could use kids could kick a little ball around, whatnot. Certainly you've got a nice playground apparatus when you go over to the grade school across the street, right? So we didn't see a need for any playground because that's right there. It was mainly just an open green space for the neighbors to use. Again, I know I live in a cul-de-sac, and that's where we would have our block party every year. So that was our intent.
Okay.
I think visually it helps cut down on the sense of density too. I'm assuming that's what you're
by
thinking.
having a nice green space in there. It's traffic calming as well, I believe, to see that as you come up and see those trees. So as you can see, we only put a sidewalk on the south side of it. We don't have a sidewalk coming around the north side of it because, again, we wanted to keep that open for kind of kids to be playing and not cutting their knees on the sidewalk.
And there's a sidewalk across the street.
Right.
Yes.
Right. And the drainage swale along the south side, what would abut the newly subdivided Walgreens property, how deep of a swale are we talking?
It exists there today.
Oh, it does.
It is, but it's just like mowed grass and junk in there. So basically, we're just taking the existing swale that's in a 1970s condition, and we're taking that swale and we're going to plant naturalized plantings in there to, again, add some biofiltering to the stormwater. As the stormwater already comes down through this area, runs through this swale, and heads out in this direction, we're just going to naturalize it and modernize essentially into a cleaning bioswale. If you go out there today, you'll see it. The actual design of the channel is going to stay the same.
Okay. Cool. Thank you. I must say I was pretty impressed with your plant list. That's something I look at. And I think the mix of trees was great. Love to see some tulip trees in there. That's wonderful. I would urge you that you do not use pecan lilacs. Is that something
I'm looking at Greg because he's our landscape architect.
So noted.
Okay. The black haws, they're great. This plant material, just for people listening, a lot of it's native or, close to native to here, native to the United States, tough, hardy, things that grow big, things that get fall color, things that bloom, things that are showy when they're in leaf. And most of them are tough and hardy. You've got buckeyes in here. I'm excited about the London plane tree. That's a new cultivar that was introduced by Chicagoland Grows. This mix of plant materials, I know it's hard to lose an area with mature plantings that look natural, but this kind of sensitive replanting will rebuild that sense. I'm assuming that's your intent. I think it could be very successful. So I do applaud you with the things you've chosen. It's too bad there aren't more native evergreen trees, but there aren't.
Thank you, Trustee. For the record, my name is Greg Sagan, President of Signature Design Group, and we're the landscape architects for the project. I appreciate the kind words from the trustee. And yes, the goal is to harden off the existing vegetation within the development to ensure prolonged, strong-growing trees. And in the buffer area, the buffer along the north, we have some existing Colorado spruce, which are suffering from needle cast. Yeah. Austrian pine, the fate of those. So finding alternative, we are using limber pine, as an alternative. Norway spruce have been doing well on the berm. We're using more of those, using some of the upright evergreens, arborvitaes, and upright junipers as a substitute to many of the evergreens. So we are sensitive to the existing berm. It's valuable to the neighbors, and where we can preserve it, we're trying to update it, note it on the plan as we will field locate those materials because the location is very important in filling holes for the neighbors and for our neighbors for the mutual benefit. So I appreciate the kind words, and we are working towards that end, and I think it will be a successful design once implemented.
Yeah,
Thank
it's high
you.
quality plant material, a lot of oak trees, good stuff.
I don't have other questions, but I will just say I'm thrilled to see houses coming in here. I think this is such a nice use of the space. I think I know the berm is in discussion. I know any landscape change is going to be hard for the community there. I also think it's really nice to bring in new community. I think a lot of different things could have been put into this space, so we're really glad that you continue to work with the group and the neighbors there and try to make this successful, because it's nice to build the community bigger. And I like that the sidewalk comes through. I might be an outlier, but I can't help but think there's new best friends to be made here, a little maybe Pollyanna. But I can't help but think, there's more room for kids to ride bikes and more opportunity here. So I think as much work as you've done to really work with the neighbors is really appreciated.
Thank you. And we've certainly had an outpouring of interest in the brokerage community already about these 42 homes, for sure.
People love their property. It's true.
Anything on the left? Anything on the right? Anything more? Anything more from the petitioner? Bernie, you want to talk about plat before we go to public comment?
Good evening. My name is Bernard Citron. I'm with the firm of Thompson Coburn. I'm representing Walgreens on their almost 33 acres that will remain for the campus. We are seeking very few approvals from the village as part of this development. Number one is to reduce the size or the boundaries of the planned unit development to only encompass those approximately 33 acres that it will remain. So you can see from the plat where that will be. Two, we are seeking some exceptions to the 100-foot setback rule. And again, we're not building anything. In fact, we're taking things down, especially part of the skywalk. But because of where the line is being drawn across between the two properties, that is an existing condition. So we need to seek those exceptions as set forth with staff report in our application to allow for that. But again, nothing is physically changing other than a line and a piece of paper. And last but not least, we were required to submit a preliminary plat of subdivision dividing this property into two plats, or two separate lots of record. So as it goes forward, Walgreens will have its own lot of record for south of that line, and Pulte would have its lot of record, which they're now seeking to subdivide to the 42 lots plus common space. So any existing easements that have to be removed on the Pulte side will be abrogated during the process of platting this. With that, our team is here to answer any questions.
My only question was there was some notation about you needed a dispensation for having where you're cutting off the skyway. Could you talk about that for a minute? What it's going to just be jut out from the building a little bit, and it's into the.
I think it violates the setback requirement.
That's what is.
That's what. Yeah, it's
that's what violates the setback.
Yeah.
And you can't cut it flush to the building because
we can tell you why we're asking.
I'm just curious. It seemed odd.
Chris,
Hi, I'm Chuck Sedgwick with Walgreens. I am the architectural manager with the company, and I'd rephrase it a little bit different as jutting out as when you look at the building from Wilmot, you will see that we extend the bridge from the main 200 building both to the left and to the right as part of the bridge. And it goes higher in those areas. So we're matching what happens on the left and in the right to be symmetrical with the entry canopy there. So as you go by, you'll have two pedestals. So it'll look like a proper facade at that location versus one thing being unbalanced because of the way the rest of the bridge goes off to the south.
I see. Okay. No, it makes sense. It's just, it's up in the air, essentially. So, the setback requirement is violated how many feet up?
About 25.
Yeah. So.
Because that's where the existing building is. That's
Right.
where the existing
It's
sidewalk
where it is. Okay. Just.
Al, did you want to say something?
The setback would be violated anyways, even if they took it flush. It's still not enough.
Right.
It's 100,
It just-
100 feet, right? So it's, there's no way.
81 or right.
The existing building.
That's Al Bromberg, our chairman of our Plan Commission, who just offered some comments. Okay, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Before I open for public comment, are there any other comments or questions from the board? All right. There are right now 5 people who've signed up for public comment. Tarek Assyrian.
Good evening, Mayor, Board of Trustees. Well, first of all, thank you for the opportunity to come here and speak to you, first as Board of Trustees and also as neighbors and part of our community. We've been showing up for, I think this is the 4th, 5th time, trying to address our concerns to Pulte and before to the Plan Commissioner. And once again, Pulte's presentation today lacks the golden rule of a good neighbor. I'm not surprised. We all know it's a corporation, and main motive is maximizing profit. 40 homes against 42 homes. I don't see really the impact on their income statements whatsoever. But again, I honestly believe that if anything will come out of any good outcome that will come out of this, it will come from you, the Board of Trustees, not from Pulte. But so far, and just to be candid, I think I have some resentments, and I feel like we've been treated unfairly during the during the Plan Commission hearing. At first, we tried the empathy, that put yourself in other shoes. The impact that removing the berm will have on the ecosystem of the neighbor, the overall aesthetic of the neighbor, the privacy issue for us, and the noise coming from the highway, and eventually the noise that will come from the demolition, because my house will be butting up these destructions. So we will have to suffer and live with that for, I think he said, like 2 to 3 months of demolition. And then we tried the bylaws. The city code state that the proposed project should not be approved, or should I'm stating this by, so yes, should not be injurious to the use and the enjoyment of the neighbors, and it should not also diminish the value of the property. So we went ahead and we proved to the Plan Commission that this so far presented plan will in fact diminish the value of our homes. And we've heard today, and even at the Plan Commission that Pulte's saying that the berms must be removed in order for them to access the existing utility, the storm sewer, and the water utility. So we went ahead and hired a civil engineer, and I think we sent the email and we have copies.
We did get the report.
Yeah,
and
the
I'm just going to jump in here for a second. I know this is important to you, so we're going to give you a little more time than 3 minutes.
Thank you.
But not
Yep.
endless.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor. So as I mentioned, we hired a civil engineer, and in his report, data shows that there is actually existing easement to the utility on north of Walgreens property line that actually connect to the Walmart main, the sewer main, and that's explained that this plan today could be reconfigured. This is only what we're asking. We're asking that you, Plan Commissioner, to push back against the current site proposition and advocate to address our concerns. And I'm pretty sure, SimCom can definitely produce alternative options. And just to finish one thing, if we're talking about tax revenue for the city, 42 homes against 40, what that would make in terms of impact. Again, I think and I feel that we've been treated unfairly in this whole process, and I hope that the Board of Trustees will advocate for us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You can. I have a comment or two for you.
Yep.
And you saw me push a little bit with Rob, and I'm going to push back against you. The entire process has been fair, open, and transparent. No one's been treated unfairly. There was a homeowners meeting in February, a pre-filing conference, a plan commission hearing, another plan commission hearing, a meeting where you, your wife, and others have come before this board, tonight's meeting, and even an outreach by Pulte. And so when you say it's unfair, I think what you might feel is that unfairness is because people aren't agreeing with you, and that's different than being unfair.
I'll say why I think it's unfair. I think it's unfair because Pulte had a plan before, and they changed the plan because they thought it's an easy battle to win against two homeowners than winning it with over 20 homes. So I think we were the cheap that we can sacrifice so we can get the plan the way they want it to be. Again, I'm just pushing that it doesn't have to be 42. It could be 40, and it could be. And I think there is a whole way of reconfiguring this project in a way that will preserve the berm. And at the end of the day, this is not just for us; it's for the whole community, and that's what the community actually wants.
This is a project that we have to look at with the lens of the whole community. You're absolutely right. Thank you. Did you have anything else, Tara?
No, thank you. I guess there's more, and I appreciate your time, and thank you for listening to me.
All right. Thanks. You bet. Ciara Cruz.
Hi. It's pronounced Kira.
Sorry,
Cruz.
Kira.
I live in Clavinia. I don't live near the berm. I'm up on...
Can you just speak into the mic?
I'm up further on Castlewood, so I'm not directly impacted. But I do walk down there all the time since we moved in about 7 years ago. It is a beautiful area, and I know why they chose to buy there. I just want to bring up a couple things that I want you guys to think about that you didn't ask. When he mentioned the asbestos, the answer was not a lot. I'd like you guys to find out what not a lot asbestos in the building is, because I don't know what that means. They also mentioned the community would be getting those plantings in the berm area, but there's no mention of Who owns those plantings? I don't know if that's common property. When I look at the diagram, that property that they're proposing goes all the way.
That's Walgreens property.
Oh, I know that, but they're selling the lots. So that lot will have a house and a house.
Yes, if it's not within the private
Okay, so how much?
private lots, it's a common element
ownership.
within the homeowners association.
That's a legal entity that will have to
So
maintain
they can't put
responsibility.
the berm there, but they're going to put the plantings there, and those plantings are going to be owned by the homeowner association.
Maintained by the homeowners association.
Right, owned and maintained.
And one of the things that may be helpful for you in understanding this more is the homeowners association has to come to us for our approval
Yes,
by
I
our legal
understand
counsel with covenants, conditions, and restrictions,
Right.
which show and obligate them to maintain that area.
Right, yeah, they're working under the village, I
Yeah.
get that. So, the question of the asbestos, but also, like my neighbor brought up, there could be other options to consider. And I noticed, the second time they brought up the slide of where that community property was. How big is that community property? Why
You're talking about the outlot?
the center of the town, little square,
Oh,
let's
I'm
call it.
sorry. I misunderstood you.
Perhaps there is a lot of different options to consider that would be more satisfying to the Clavinia neighbors and anybody who's going to buy. That sounds idyllic, that you're going to have this center little area for people to play sports and whatnot. I used to live in Riverwoods. We had one lot. It was called in our neighborhood one lot. We were right in the woods by the village hall. Our homeowner association owned an acre on the river. It was not in the center. It was utilized all the time. The kids would go and play in the woods. I'm not saying there's going to be woods here, but that's something to consider. Maybe it's not in the center of the planned community, and it could be repositioned where there could be maybe a lower berm rebuilt, maybe more trees, or maybe a better understanding that trees and plantings will be very well maintained and enjoyed, rather than risking them seeing the back of some large house. Because the other thing is they don't know what size house that would be. If that was me, I'd like to maybe say, hey, let's make it one of your smaller models, because there are plenty of houses in Deerfield that are dwarfed by large houses, and that's probably something they don't want to deal with. So these are just all things I really wish you would consider.
Thank you for your comments.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
Yep.
Carol. Carol. Or who? You want to go, Carol, or you want? Okay.
Well, I hate to go over the
If you
same
would just,
information.
Would you mind just introducing yourself to us? And
Is this
tell
better?
us your name, your full name.
Carol Cranus. I live at 325 Forsythia.
Got it.
I don't want to repeat ourselves, so I'll just say, you know why we want the berm. We love the mature trees. The trees that they plant will be 10 feet high. Our current trees are 50 feet high. I am 85 years old, and I don't think I'm going to live long enough to see the new little trees get to the reasonable size, and now we have 50-foot trees. The Pulte organization has appreciated that a berm is valuable, and that's why they've kept all the rest of the berm, and they just want to take down ours. And our civil engineer says that they can certainly find another way around hooking in and keeping the berm. So I'm not sure why it's an issue. Just one little anecdote, and then I'll wind up. A relative of mine was visiting who was looking for a home in the area, a young family. I took them over there and I said, which lots would you choose? Is the berm important to you? She said she wouldn't even consider buying a house in that development unless she could have a house that backed on the berm with the mature trees. It's a selling point for their homes as well as for ours. So I don't even know why we're arguing about it, because it shouldn't be that complicated to reconfigure enough, according to our civil engineer, to allow us to keep our berm and also to enhance Pulte's homes that they're trying to sell, especially those near the tollway, because it does mitigate the sound, and it's just more attractive when you have something like the tollway as a deficit. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Thank you for coming out. John Lyons.
Yes, they'll see it on that side as well as at the dais.
Okay, set up. I'd like to preface my comments with the fact that the 3 minutes I'm allotted amounts to 35 seconds for each 10 years I've lived on Forsythia Drive. So,
Time flies, John.
And following up on the the Pulte's presentation, which was maybe an hour, I think it's unfair. I might say up front, I may go over a little bit, and hopefully I'm not escorted to the facility in the back of this building.
That will not happen. Take your time.
Okay. First of all, the comment that's been brought up, I think the solution to the problem that as we see it, is to reduce the number of homes and/or reconfigure the development. I'm sure Pulte has engineers that could do the reconfiguration, and I'm sure, as it was mentioned, that Pulte will not suffer if they amount to 39 or 40 homes. Okay. First of all, I'd like to refer to the exhibit on the screen showing current views of the berm and the trees as seen from Forsythia and Wego Court. Then look at what will replace those views if the complete 42 homes Pulte plans is approved. Pulte has offered to do landscaping, very nicely too, by Greg, in an attempt to block the view of the backs of homes whose lot lines will be contiguous with 315s and will come close within 10 feet of 310 for Forsythia. That offer, however, is a gratuitous attempt to suggest that any amount of landscaping will replace the 7 to 8 foot high berm containing 36 15 to 40 foot high mature trees plus numerous well-placed bushes. Now, the comment's been made that these are old, not good trees. Doesn't matter. They're going to be around for another 15, 20 years, and they're very attractive, as you can see in the display. I would ask each of you to objectively consider which view you would prefer if this is going to happen in your backyard. Now I want to recall the April 25th meeting with the Planning Commission in which Pulte representatives were given several minutes to state the reason for the removal of the berm and its trees at the end of Forsythia. Much of the rationale was linked to their supposed need for sewerage, drainage, or water if the commission acquiesced to their request for 42 homes. I would like to now, as it's been referred to before, I'd like to now to show excerpts from the drainage and utility study by the civil engineering firm RBD Associates on the subject area being discussed tonight. The full report was made available to all of you. But, quote, the proposed plan aimed at eliminating the burn for utility connections on Forsythia Drive can be avoided or addressed through alternate construction methods and means of utility connections. It is worth noting that while these plans outlined in the report are two possible approaches, there may well be other viable methods to consider as well. I would respectfully submit that after my 50 years in the security business, I have learned, and this is, in this case, would strongly suggest that appropriate due diligence involves more than merely accepting statements offered by one side of the discussion. Regrettably, the Planning Commission in their recent meeting had but one brief response after the remarks of 5 of us who were protesting the berm and tree removal. That one comment being to discredit out of hand with no apparent explanation and even perhaps with no expertise, an objective professional real estate appraisal showing that our homes would lose some value if the project were approved. Not one comment about any of what any of us said. was offered. An immediate vote was called for, which approved the development, and the meeting adjourned. In closing, and please believe me that I am not demeaning the judgment of you, Mayor, or any of you trustees. I have no reason to do that. However, if the board does allow the destruction of our neighborhood and the devastating effect it would have on us, residents, I would question your allegiance to commercial interest as opposed to the well-being and respect of those you represent. The main issue is the number of homes being proposed and the location of those homes, and reconfiguring is certainly something that I would definitely have the trustees pursue. If you do decide to allow Pulte's plan as it now exists, please explain to us why you think it's essential to allow Pulte to add another 2 homes at this site to the approximate 750,000 homes that they have built already, and at such a permanent ecological expense to the neighborhood and a devastating effect to Deerfield residents.
Thank you, John. No one's bringing the hook out for you. No one's bringing the hook. You did good.
No hook. No escort to the back of the building?
No, not tonight.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. K Lines.
Good evening, Mayor and trustees. I am Kay Lyons. My husband, John, and I live adjacent to the 8-foot berm at the end of Forsythia Drive in a Pulte house, as do all the residents on Forsythia Drive. If the berm were to be destroyed, we would lose our environmentally friendly atmosphere, our privacy, and our significant real estate value. Instead of viewing greenery, including 40-year-old trees, we would be viewing the backs of houses. I appeal to you, as trustees of the citizens of Deerfield, to not approve the Planning Committee's proposal as it is written. Because it would, as it is written, to remove the berm. Such action on your part would preserve our neighborhood and its trees, and importantly, protect us and act in the best interest of the established residents of Deerfield. You are tasked with protecting our best interest. We are the residents. Pulte is not the resident. Thank you for hearing and considering our proposed. Thank you.
Is there anyone who is not signed up who would like to speak about this matter? Yes, sir.
State his name for the record.
Yeah.
John Lyons, Jr. So you just heard from my parents. I grew up at 310 Forsythia. My brothers and I sledding in the winter and, running around those hills all the time. And, as I look at the prospect of this new development, and as been mentioned, the other side of that hill and what it would mean to this new development to have a nice hill like that to sled in, right? We spent a lot of time talking about this little oval in the middle of the street. What if they had a place to go sled and actually enjoy a natural ecosystem that's already there? It doesn't have to be destroyed. So destroying a hill of this size and chopping down 36 mature trees does nothing to improve the quality of the local environment for the residents of Deerfield, including the new ones. and feels pretty squarely in conflict with both Pulte's policy and the village's mission, both of which have screenshotted here. The fact that this development is being built on a literal 800-car parking lot, it stands to reason that there should be some flexibility and creativity in terms of building around this ecosystem. These homes at the moment are rectangles in a PDF. Why not use an ounce of creativity to reconfigure so that the cul-de-sac doesn't point directly north towards Forsythia? And maybe you lose 2 to 3 homes. Or maybe you turn a couple 4-bed, 2 cars, or you turn a couple 6-bedroom, 4-car homes into 4-bedroom, 2-car garage, right? I mean, those are the types of sacrifices that we're asking to be considered, right? I think I'm a Deerfield resident and homeowner as well. My kids go to South Park. I'm for this project. I think it's going to be a net positive, but all we're asking for is some creativity, some flexibility, again, with what right now are just rectangles on a PDF. And those rectangles haven't changed, in 6 meetings, right? We've gotten some more bushes. We've gotten some more tiny trees that my parents won't live to see. But, at the end of the day, going from 42 to 40, who benefits besides those extra 2 homeowners and Pulte at the expense of the berm? Thanks.
Does anyone else have any comments about this agenda item who is not signed up? Al, do you have anything you want to offer? Nope. Dan, anything? Dan, and no? Okay. Pulte or Walgreens, any responses to the public comments?
I think we've pretty well had a fulsome discussion over the last 3 to 4 months. I don't think we really have anything to add.
Okay. All right. Board. We have a lot of information, a lot of stuff to consider, including an engineer's report that we got late last week that I don't know if we've fully digested, including some new visuals on what I'll just call it the Forsythia area or perspective would be at the time of planting, of where the berm would be. Some more information on demolition. Thank you for that. We have a couple of options here. We can digest this, look at the reports, and continue this for further thought, process, investigation. If we want to look at the engineer's report more closely, or have our public Bob and his team look at it, or even Pulte. I'm not sure you guys have weighed on. Have you seen it? Any of you weighed in on it? The engineer's report from the neighbors? Okay. So give that an opportunity to be fully vetted. Or we can consider the Plan Commission's report based upon the information that we have. And with that consideration, we can condition any approvals that we would consider tonight with conditions, obviously. So we have a number of different options. Does anyone want to weigh in on their preference for those options at this point?
I don't see any point in our delaying this. I think we have been had a lot of information shared with us over the last couple of weeks. I think the Plan Commission did a very thorough job in their examination. We have gotten a lot of additional information from the neighbors. We've gotten additional information from Pulte. As part of our packet, there was a message from them that came in over the last several days where they committed to adding additional plantings for the neighbors. And quite frankly, to drag this out, I think only creates more angst for the people involved. And I think that the process, as you alluded to earlier, has been fair and has been thorough and has been informative. And frankly, I am ready to decide on this evening. I don't think delaying would do any good.
I would concur with Mary.
I disagree. I don't think putting this over 2 weeks will create any more angst. I think putting this over for 2 weeks gives us more thought, an opportunity to think about this, and gives us an opportunity to look more closely at the engineer's report, which was delayed by the neighbors, and not something that we are particularly happy about. We asked about it last time and just got it Thursday or Friday of last week. So that's not a good thing because it puts us in a spot where we have to digest it in just a couple of business days in order to look at it for a meeting on a Monday night. But because this is important, it's important to the community and the overall community. I don't think putting this over for future consideration would be harmful. I do think that if we did do that, there's nothing more we need to hear. I mean, we have received letters upon letters and upon letters. I feel if we got more letters, it would say the same thing. Not that you can't, but there's really not that much more to say. I do think, though, there is more for us to consider, and I would defer to you, Mary, on the landscape plan, as we talked about for a second. But that's just my feeling. Doesn't mean we have to do that, but that's just a respectful disagreement on moving forward. So however you guys feel about it. If you're ready to vote, we'll vote and look at or consider the recommendation. It can be conditional. If you're not ready to vote, that's okay too.
I just hate to keep people hanging.
Understood. And there's a point to that. There's definitely a point to that. This has gone on in terms of the public outreach since February. We're now towards the end of May, so it's not as if the public hasn't had an opportunity to voice their concerns. And for that, that's good. I mean, we've had open meetings, we've had dialogue. There's been a lot of stuff going on. So there has been an ability of the public to air its concerns out on this project on many occasions. So two different sides. We normally don't disagree like this, but we just have a different way of proceeding. John, I'm sorry, we're just going to plot ahead.
No one's responded to our side of the story.
We're not done deliberating. All right, so give us a chance to.
This is a hearing.
No, it's not. It's a public meeting. It's not a public hearing. The public hearing has been conducted and closed with the Plan Commission. So this is a public meeting, and it is part of the transparent process that we're trying to afford everyone, including the petitioner, as well as you. And I'm sorry if you disagree with that approach, but it is a very forthright and open process. I would suggest probably more open than many communities offer. So let's kick this back to what we want to do with this process, or with this petition tonight. Bob, do you have a feeling one way or the other?
I think, as a veteran of the Planning Commission, and many of us are, there have been ample opportunities to discuss. I think that Pulte has been cooperative. I think the residents present have given us their ideas. In my way of thinking, when we first moved here and they had a sidewalk planning program and they were taking trees down to do work, and then my wife said at one point, why can't they just put the old ones back up again? Why don't they put the 10 or 20 foot trees up instead of these little ones? We've heard that present residents have been there while the trees have grown. That will happen again. I think there was ample opportunity for give and take on both sides, and I'm very impressed with the way it has gone, because the original plans where the berm was going to disappear, and no, it wasn't. They were going to have everything just the way it was. This is an ample opportunity to show what can be done with discussions in both directions. I think I could vote tonight, but I would yield to any other majority opinions here on the board.
Yeah, I think I could vote tonight too. I take the point the boxes haven't moved, and I keep coming back to the question that's asked, does the berm need to go? Could we remove 2 houses? Could the park come? And I have looked and explored and thought through all of that, and I think so has Pulte. And I come back to all of the different engineering reasons for the plan the way it is, and I think that's why the boxes haven't moved. I also come back to the report I have in hand that says, that the secondary assessment notes they have not had the opportunity to assess any detailed plans or preliminary engineering designs. That's incredibly important for the sewage, for the way that everything's been laid out here. So I don't see the boxes moving even if we delay the vote. So I can vote tonight.
Jennifer.
I feel like I have enough information, and I read a lot of what's going on. I was on the Plan Commission for the beginning of this process, so I feel like I am in a position to.
Mayor, we know how you feel. Elaine?
I can vote
You ready
tonight.
to vote?
I've studied this. I've heard. I've listened. I've thought about it. I don't need 2 more weeks.
I'm good. I've digested. I appreciate all the input we've had from the neighbors, the residents, the developers, the contractors, and I'm prepared to move ahead.
All right, so we're going to move forward with a vote tonight.
And it's worthwhile that we can also talk about what happens after the vote, whichever, because this
Yes.
is actually
So-
listening to the Plan Commission's report, but not making our own decision yet to move
Right.
on or not to move on.
Right. So we're going to go with a vote tonight on the Plan Commission's recommendation. The recommendation, our vote on the recommendation can be conditioned, and I would like us to very thoughtfully consider whether we want to add conditions to the Plan Commission's recommendation. Because I do think there are some things that we could add to make this even better or more appealing, especially with regards to the landscaping. So does anyone have a motion that they want to offer at this point with regards to the Commission's recommendation?
Do we want to discuss this first, or
Yeah,
just
absolutely.
move to a motion? Oh, you want to do the motion first and then discuss?
Well,
We're doing both.
Technically, we can
both.
do a motion, a second,
preliminary.
and then discussion.
Okay.
All right, so let's do that.
I'm prepared to move. Now, how do you want to do this? This is broken into 2 things. We've got the subdivision, and then we've got the development. How are we going to handle this?
I would recommend breaking this into a number of votes because the order really does make a difference. The first vote would be a motion to grant preliminary approval of the amendment to the Walgreens PUD.
To subdivide.
To change the PUD boundaries, to grant the proposed exceptions. The second would be for the approval of the plat of subdivision. So, for Walgreens.
So let's do the Walgreens stuff first.
Right. So this would be 2456A, that portion first, and then 2456B, which is broken up into 4 votes.
4 votes, okay.
So this is all in reference to preliminary approvals for both matters, right, Marcus?
Taking these separately.
But you still have to come back and do ordinances to finalize
Right.
all this stuff. Plan Commission
That
has to
we
get
know.
Plan Commission has to come back and look at it again for final PUD. All that stuff has to happen.
So while you're looking that up, let's consider a motion on the recommendation of the Plan Commission requesting an amendment to the existing Walgreens PUD to change the boundaries to remove 300, 302, and 304 Wilmot and the Walgreens daycare building at 202 Wilmot in order to allow for the creation of a new residential PUD with necessary exceptions. Let's do that, and then we'll get to the second half of that in a second. But
Okay. I would make that motion.
Okay.
What he said.
All right.
I would second.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Jacoby.
Yes.
Trustee Metz-Childers.
Yes.
Trustee Oppenheim.
Yes.
Trustee Benton.
Yes.
Trustee Berg.
Yes.
and Trustee Goldstone.
Yes.
The recommendation for that has been approved. Now, there's a second recommendation on the Walgreens piece, and that's for a preliminary plat of subdivision for the Walgreens PUD. Is there a motion to approve that recommendation?
Move approval.
Second.
Roll call.
Trustee Metz-Childers.
Yes.
Trustee Oppenheim.
Yes.
Trustee Benton.
Yes.
Trustee Berg.
Yes.
Trustee Goldstone.
Yes.
Trustee Jacoby.
Yes.
Now we're going to get into the
development.
PUD. Does anyone want to make a recommendation with regards to the Plan Commission's recommendation for the preliminary development plan for the PUD with necessary exceptions for 300, 302, and 304 Wilmont, and the daycare at 202 Wilmont?
I would make that motion.
Are there any conditions you would add to that, Mary?
And we're talking about the actual development.
The rezoning?
We're not rezoning, we're just talking about the PUD.
The
We'll get to
PUD?
the rezoning in a second.
Well,
I'm gonna break this up. All right, this is just for the preliminary PUD.
that's fine. Yes, no conditions.
Second.
If I understand it.
Okay, any discussion on that? Roll call.
Trustee Oppenheim.
Yes.
Trustee Benton.
Yes.
Trustee Berg.
Yes.
Trustee Goldstone.
Yes.
Trustee Jacoby.
Yes.
Trustee Metz-Childers.
Yes.
The motion carries. Now is a motion for a rezoning for those properties from I-1 Office Research Restricted Industrial District to R5 General Residential District. And when I say those properties, it would be a motion to rezone the properties at 300, 302, and 304 Wilmont and 202 Wilmont.
And I want to be clear. This is it should be a motion to conceptually approve the map amendment with the idea that this approval is preliminary at this time only, and we'll be coming back within a year.
Under those circumstances, I would move that.
Yeah. That's fine. Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Trustee Benton.
Yes.
Trustee Berg.
Yes.
Trustee Goldstone.
Yes.
Trustee Jacoby.
Yes.
Trustee Metz-Childers.
Yes.
Trustee Oppenheim.
Yes.
Thank you, Marcus, for the clarification. The next motion would be a motion to amend the comp plan to allow for residential development at 300, 302, 304 Wilmont and the daycare at 202 Wilmont. And I think what you're going to say is that that amendment would be preliminary and contingent upon and effective upon final approval.
Yes.
Okay.
I feel like we're doing this backwards, but yes, I would make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, do you understand
That's
what's going on?
I understand how you've structured this, but I feel like we did it backwards.
Okay.
We could have a
Okay.
conversation about that at some point too, because you
Right.
kind of got to clean the slate and then bring something in. It's kind of what you're doing.
Yeah,
Okay.
I made the motion. Is there a second?
Second. Was there a
it
second?
was second.
Yeah, I did
Okay,
that.
Discussion.
we're good.
Roll call.
Trustee Berg.
Yes.
Trustee Goldstone.
Yes.
Trustee Jacoby.
Yes.
Trustee Metz-Childers.
Yes.
Trustee Oppenheim.
Yes.
And Trustee Benton.
Yes.
Now is there a motion to approve the recommendation for a preliminary plat of subdivision at 300, 302, 304 Wilmot and 202 Wilmot?
Didn't we do that?
Do that one?
I
No,
think
we
we did
did
that.
the preliminary plat for Walgreens. This is the preliminary plat for Pulte.
Okay, so this is the actual development
it.
plan.
This is.
This is the preliminary plat
Plat
of
of
subdivision,
subdivision.
yes,
Preliminary.
for Pulte.
That has been presented to us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I would move approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
That's the actual
Discussion.
plan.
And in terms of the conditions you're asking to be attached, one of the pieces of information that was sent to us by Pulte was that they were making a commitment to meet with the homeowners and add additional landscaping on their properties if they so requested it. I heard that tonight, and I heard that the response to them was they weren't interested, the homeowners weren't interested at that time when they first brought it up. But now that it's later and the situation is different, I would hope that this offer, that would be a condition I'd attach, that this offer is still valid, and these meetings would take place, and there would be some accommodation to the homeowners that are at the end of Forsythia, and that this would be, I'm seeing a nodding head, so I think that I want to add that condition.
A condition to
Yes.
that motion.
Yes.
And can we get confirmation from the seconder that is the motion being seconded?
Yes.
Yes, I will approve that.
And, just to let people know where we're at. I mean, the fact that we haven't responded to a lot of the information we've gotten, and we have heard all of your concerns. All of us have heard you. We have listened to you. We know how you feel. It is unfortunate, and I am talking as someone who has been a landscape designer for 35 years. I understand the pain of losing mature plantings. However, I am convinced from the other information I have been giving that it is necessary to remove the end of the berm in order to accomplish the development of this area. I believe that this housing development will benefit the entire community, that on many, many ways we are listening to the needs of the residents of the entire community when we approve this development. I have been somewhat disturbed hearing many of the current residents calling this our berm. This is not your property. This is property that belongs to Walgreens now, and if this deal goes through, will soon belong to Pulte. I know that there's an appreciation. My house backs up to a golf course. They do lots of things there that I'm not entitled to tell them they can't do. It's difficult, change is hard. I do believe this developer has been sensitive to your needs. When you talk about taking out a couple of houses to preserve the berm, it seems to me if the street had gone through, that would have preserved the berm as well, without taking out a couple of houses. But it was a request from the homeowners that had the developer not put the street through. So I do believe there has been a sensitivity to people's needs, and that these people will work with you to make this as palatable as possible. The vast majority of people who live in a residential area have a view of other houses.
That's right.
That's just the way it is. So while I am sympathetic to losing a wonderful natural area, I don't believe it's within our authority or anyone else's entitlement to tell the new owner of this property that they cannot take the area out. And that's why I am supporting this development. So I just want you to know that's where we're at.
And I think that the beginning of this meeting, which was a long time ago, and when we got into this subject, this is, after all, Public Works Month, and we've heard the excellent work that our Public Works people do, and the idea of the discussion later on was that people who were upset about having to excavate the berm to put drainage and sewerage pipes in should be met with something less than skepticism. This is what our experts tell us. We are a community that has extraordinary public works, and that's proven each year. And so some change has to be made to accommodate that, and these are the people who know how to do it and should be able to do it. So I'm a little concerned that people are more concerned with their own property and what it might do to me rather than what it would do for the community.
We have a motion with a condition that at the appropriate time, Pulte reach out to the neighbors and talk about providing landscaping to their reasonable satisfaction on their property. Is there a second? Bob, you agree to that condition?
Yes.
Is there any more discussion on that motion?
Larry did the second.
Oh, sorry.
Oh,
sorry.
Okay.
That motion with the condition has been made and seconded.
Yep.
Is there any more discussion on that motion? Roll call.
Trustee Goldstone.
Yes.
Trustee Jacoby.
Yes.
Trustee Metz-Childers.
Yes.
Trustee Oppenheim.
Yes.
Trustee Benton.
Yes.
And Trustee Berg.
Yes.
Just so that we're clear, the preliminary plans, sorry, let me rephrase that. The Plan Commission's recommendation for preliminary approval of plans, plats, amendments, etc., has been voted on at this meeting. It will come back for final after various tweaks, engineering, etc., after those plans are finalized, at which time we will adopt the appropriate ordinance or ordinances.
And the Plan Commission will also review those before it comes back to the village
Right.
board. So the Plan Commission is the next formal step for consideration of this matter.
And when that is, that will be up to Pulte and when they can make their final plans, but it will be another opportunity for the public to appear before the Plan Commission. And then when we get it, another opportunity to appear before us at that time.
And
the demolition will be included in that.
So everything when it comes to us when it comes to us, we will also have a development agreement.
Right.
That will address development-related issues.
Okay.
Including demolition, restrictions.
And demolition and development and the restrictions and some of the representations that.
Impact fees, all that stuff.
All that
Right,
normally is
that
part
we
of
haven't
that
talked about
larger-
yet. Right, got it.
And I think we have one more portion, correct me if I'm wrong, just the special use for the for a residential planned unit development.
Okay. So, thank you. Is there a motion to accept the recommendation for a special use for a planned unit development at the what we're referring to as the Pulte project, which special use would be finalized and effective at the time of final approval?
I
Is there a
would so
motion
move.
for that?
Second.
There's a motion, a second discussion. Roll call.
Trustee Jacoby.
Yes.
Trustee Metz-Childers.
Yes.
Trustee Oppenheim.
Yes.
Trustee Benton.
Yes.
Trustee Berg.
Yes.
And Trustee Goldstone.
Yes.
Okay. Anything
So
else, Marcus, on
complicated.
this one?
We are done with that one.
All right. Moving on to item 2458. Thank you, guys. Appreciate your time. Item 2458, report and recommendation of staff regarding the amusement tax. Jessica.
Good evening, Mayor and Board. During the March 18th Committee of the Whole meeting, staff presented the board with survey results, comparisons, and factors to consider regarding the implementation of an amusement tax. An amusement tax is a locally administered levy applied to a range of entertainment or leisure activities. With direction from the board, staff collaborated with the village attorney to provide a draft amusement tax that is intentionally narrowly tailored to limit applying the levy towards existing businesses. However, current and potential future businesses that could be impacted include Kids Empire, an indoor playground, indoor trampoline parks, pickleball, and other sports-themed entertainment facilities. The draft ordinance is very limited in scope, and staff recommends that the mayor and board should consider the nuances and complexities associated with implementing, administering, and enforcing the amusement tax. It is also recommended that the board consider the cost benefits associated given the significant effort to implement the tax and that it may not yield expected revenues at this time. As for nuances, certain businesses may not regularly pay the amusement tax, but may occasionally trigger the tax, which can create issues or challenges rather for compliance. For example, if a hotel were to host a ticketed event on an annual basis, or from time to time, the amusement tax could then be triggered. Considering that the entertainment categories subject to an amusement tax align with the special uses outlined in the C4 zoning district, staff recommends that the amusement tax is delayed until there is clarity on the land use proposals within the district. Additionally, if the board wishes to move forward with adoption of an amusement tax, staff recommends implementing a 5% tax rate, which aligns with neighboring comparable communities as seen in the amusement tax survey results. And lastly, considering the evolving nature of this policy, staff has yet to formally engage with the business community and recommends doing so prior to adoption in collaboration with the Chamber of Commerce.
All right, I'm going to try again and ask that we delay this adoption of the amusement tax.
Yes.
Maybe if I bet one for two, that would be okay. It sounds like
we're with you on this one.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so it doesn't sound like we're quite ready on this one yet. I think it's getting there, but we want to take it to the chamber, and we want to see if the Lake Cook tax increment financing district starts to mature a little bit with some proposed uses or potential users. So with that, does anyone have an objection if we defer this sometime, 3 or 4 months and see where we are?
Do we need a date certain?
I don't think so.
Okay.
We do not. It would just be a motion to continue.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Aye.
Thank you, Jessica.
Thank you, Mayor and Board.
Jessica, thank you for your hard work, and there's a lot of great groundwork has been done, which we will use and be able to look at when the time is right. So
Absolutely. Thank you.
I mean, now that she's done all the work, we could implement it really fast.
We
if
could.
had to,
Yeah.
right?
Right. All right.
Not suggested. It's just work staff.
Consent agenda. We have 2 items on the consent agenda, items 2453 and 2457. The first one is a resolution to adopt the North Branch Chicago River watershed-based plan. The second is a resolution authorizing a residential lease agreement between the Village of Deerfield and Robert Phillips for the premises located at 839 Todd Court. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Move approval.
Second.
Roll call.
Trustee Metz-Childers.
Yes.
Trustee Oppenheim.
Yes.
Trustee Benton.
Yes.
Trustee Berg.
Yes.
Trustee Goldstone.
Yes.
And Trustee Jacoby.
Yes.
Motion passes. Item 2459, a resolution granting an extension to a development schedule for 8 Parkway North in the Parkway North Center Planned Unit Development.
Good evening, Mayor and Board. The owners of 5 and 8 Parkway North are seeking a 1-year extension of their final development plan. Ownership originally received their PUD approval in 2016 for a 200,000 square foot 5-story office building. This village board has subsequently granted 4 extensions for them, and they're here seeking their 5th extension today, which, if approved, the ordinance would allow them to begin construction prior to May 15th of 2025. Tim Sweeney is here representing ownership as well.
Tim, you want to tell us why you want the extension?
Should I step up?
Please.
Tim Sweeney with Quadrangle Development. I'm sorry, was I supposed to have an address?
No, you don't need one.
Okay. The reality is the office market just remains terrible. and has not rebounded at all in recent years. The occupancy rate remains, throughout the Chicago area and much of the U.S. in the 50 to 60% range. Employers are having a very difficult time getting employees to come back to the office. For a while, it was believed that greater amenities, providing a greater work environment, would be attractive, and we redesigned the facility to some extent to provide that, to attract a higher end level of client. But nothing has prevailed, and on both sides here, quite a bit of effort and money was expended to approve those original plans. Frankly, we'd like to keep, not have to go back through that process again with the board, and we're asking for a 1-year extension. We are talking to others, with regard to other uses for the property, and we're moving down the road with the village on that front, but we haven't gotten to the public hearing process yet. There's still a long way to go, and we had hoped we would be much further along at this point, and this request wouldn't be necessary, but we aren't, and it is. So
you had us say hello.
Yeah.
Does
Sorry.
anyone have any questions for Tim? Is there a motion to approve the extension?
Move approval.
Second.
Roll call.
Trustee Oppenheim.
Sure.
Trustee Benton.
Yes.
Trustee Berg.
Yes.
Trustee Goldstone.
Yes.
Trustee Jacoby.
Yes.
And Trustee Metz-Childers.
Yes.
Resolution passes. Thank you and good luck.
Thank you.
We just like to see you every year. So
I hope it's not inappropriate for me to say this now that I got what I wanted.
I know it's coming.
You guys are really impressive. No,
It's
I mean
never
you're
inappropriate to say that.
you're serving and
No one
protecting
else says
your constituents, and I thought the way everything was handled and the way you judge everything, and frankly have the guts to still step up in public and make decisions.
You got your year, Tim, okay?
I'm sorry.
Got your
Sorry.
year.
You could have cut me off.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you. We appreciate the kind words. Thank
Have
you.
a good night.
Please
You too.
extend our thoughts to Chris too, Tim.
Sorry.
Please extend our thoughts to Chris
Oh, absolutely.
and the whole team. Thank you.
Thank you.
New business, a resolution to award contract for the 2024 street lighting system upgrades. Tyler.
Morning, Board. Or morning. It's almost morning, I guess.
Almost is.
It's been a while since I've been up here past 10 o'clock. So this agenda item is for the 2024 streetlight system upgrades. We've been doing this annually for the last handful of years, putting money towards improving our streetlight assets. This typically has ranged from installing conduits, providing new wire, replacing the light poles themselves and luminaires. So this year we've targeted the northeast quadrant up by Cumner and Warwick, just under 5,000 feet. We've budgeted $75,000 for this. So this year this money will be spent not only on the wire itself, but also to hire a subcontractor to bore the new conduit. And then after the conduit is in, our own street department forces would come in, pull the new wire, make all the connections, hook them up. The reason we need to do this is just the age of this infrastructure. We hear a lot about water main, storm sewer improvements. Some of this wire is 60 years old. There's multiple breaks on these lines. So just trying to keep up with this, replace these as they are faulting out and becoming problematic. We reached out to area contractors, got 2 different quotes. One from North Shore Boring, who did our project last year for us at $72,000, and the low bidder, who was WeBorit, just under $70,000. WeBorit is a new contractor for the village. We've not only met with them, but we've also performed reference checks, which they have all came back positive for. So we are comfortable with them, although they are new, and we are requesting approval or approve the resolution to award the contract for the 2024 streetlight system upgrades to WeBorit in an amount not to exceed $69,834.
Tyler, since we're under budget, can we increase the scope of the project?
So we bought the wire And that's bringing us just to about $75,000.
Okay.
So these are pretty much the only two items that we're going to be allocating out of the 75. Most of it's a subcontractor, and then we bought the spool of wire already.
Thanks.
But we have done that in the past.
Yeah,
And it's,
I know.
It's effective.
Move approval.
Second.
Roll call.
Trustee Benton.
Yes.
Trustee Berg.
Yes.
Trustee Goldstone.
Yes.
Trustee Jacoby.
Yes.
Trustee Metz-Childers.
Yes.
Trustee Oppenheim.
Yes.
Motion carries. Tyler, you got the last one under new business, 2454, resolution to concur with the Park District contract for the Patty Turner resurfacing project.
Yes, so in the early 1990s, when the Patty Turner Center was developed, the village entered an agreement with the Park District to evenly split the annual operating and capital repair costs to the center. With this agreement in mind, the Park District approached us last year, informing us of their desire to resurface the parking lot. This parking lot is a mutual benefit to both the Park District and the Public Works and village as a whole. We have shared interests, and it is something that is needed to be completed. Park District just last Thursday approved a contract with A-Lamp Concrete Contractors in the amount of $289,000 to complete the resurfacing project. The village's share, being an equal split, would be $144,500. Since we did know about this project in advance, we did budget $150,000 in our CIP for this year. Therefore, staff requests that the mayor and village board concur with the award of the Patty Turner Center resurfacing project to A-Lamp Concrete Contractors in an amount of $289,000, of which the village would be responsible for $144,500.
But they supervise the work. We don't have to do
It
that.
is their contract, but as you know, this is our bread and butter. We have been meeting with both the contractor and Park District to kind of lend our support. But it is theirs to manage with our support as needed.
Is there a motion to approve the
approval.
resolution?
Second.
Roll call.
Trustee Berg.
Yes.
Trustee Goldstone.
Yes.
Trustee Jacoby.
Yes.
Trustee Metz-Childers.
Yes.
Trustee Oppenheim.
Yes.
And Trustee Benton.
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion carries. Thanks, Tyler.
Thank you.
Items for discussion by Mayor and the Board of Trustees. A number of things under my notes. We had food truck on Wednesday, the first food truck event, and what was it, David? 700 people came? Justin, are you here? Where are you?
600-700.
He's high.
600 to 700 people came? Great, and it was a great success, right?
And he has a statistic that we need to hear about cheese curds.
How'd the cheese curds go?
Stand up. I can't see you. Please.
Cheese curds is taking the mic. Is that where we're going right now? Okay.
The poutine truck is very popular.
Yes, Mary always likes updates on the poutine truck,
I
Fork
do.
and Fry. So the Fork and Fry did sell over 25 pounds of cheese curds at the events.
Wow.
They completely sold out. So we had a lot of extremely happy vendors and a lot of
As a
extremely happy
Wisconsin
vendors.
native, I'm very proud.
Yes. The next event is June 17th. It'll be in the Marathon parking lot again, or the Metro parking lot. So we're looking forward to another event.
Where is it?
It's the Metro parking lot on Park and Jewett Park Drive.
I think you probably noticed I wasn't there. I was not happy about it. I had to be somewhere else.
Pounds of cheese curds.
Right,
didn't get
but I did
sold.
send my friends, and they sent me a note that it was fantastic. But one note for you:
Absolutely.
a garbage can at the parking lot, because they left eating. I don't know if it was cheese curds or poutine. When they got to their car, they had their little paper boat and had nowhere to throw it.
Yes, that's an excellent idea. We will add more garbage cans into the Metro parking area.
Nice.
All right.
But they
Thank you.
fabulous from my
Thank you for your hard work
Good location.
and success on the 15th, and let's build on that for the next one.
Are we doing a cheese curd consumption comparison ranking?
We very well may.
Trying to get staff prepared for what we
Yeah,
have to quantify
I
here.
think we should try that.
Statistics are important.
I'm speechless. Also, another thing is that we had the Public Works open house last Saturday. Thank you, Public Works, for hosting. Also, a lot of people in attendance, 500-600 people in attendance. We talked a little bit about it this morning. A great event. Congratulations on making that successful. The Public Arts open house will be hosted tomorrow here, at the library at 6 p.m. Our art festival will be on June 1st and 2nd on Park Avenue. So we're rolling to great summer stuff, but with the great summer stuff, we also had some sad things happen. Kenny Stolman's dad, David Stolman, died a week or so ago, so we send our condolences to Kenny and his family. Also, Sam Maracacos, the owner of Dimitri's and Scramble, died a week ago Sunday suddenly, so we send condolences to the family for that unfortunate news. So that's what I got. Does anyone have anything they want to talk about? Are you sure? It's only 10 o'clock. Okay.
Nothing to adjourn.
I'll call for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor?
Yep.
Aye.
Means adjourned. Thanks, everyone.
I was ready for another real fast roll.
Oh, wait. There's one other thing. I'm sorry. Under my report. Can we just do this? I brought this. I forgot all about it.
Really nice.
Danny, make sure we get this. Look at this.
Oh, about Bob.
Bob and Babs.
Oh.
Yes. Yes. 50 years and counting. Meet the Bentons on top of Deerfield Neighbors Magazine, May 20 edition. Bob, congratulations. It's a wonderful article.
And
I want a signed copy.
It's an interesting system. When you get your magazine, if you're on the list and you have to write or email Deerfield neighbors to get on the list, and then it comes to you as addressed personally to occupant.
With that great news, and Bob, again, congratulations, I will call for a renewed motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we're adjourned. Thanks.
Elected, it's fine.